Santa is a pervert.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 17th of October, 2021. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today is Zachary Burgess.
That was about a month and a half early, unless you're a store, in which case it was about time.
And Robert Kemp.
Oh my god, I think I got slightly enraged because we went into Glass Wells yesterday, and they're just on full-on Christmas mode already.
Full Christmas mode.
Well, I guess they don't really do Halloween stuff.
I guess. I mean, does a furniture store really do Christmas furniture? I suppose they might do decorations,
and trees, maybe. I think those kind of count as furniture.
Maybe, yeah. But no, I was
like, but it's not a gift of furniture. That's a bit like, how do you fit that under the tree?
I suppose you could get Glass Wells vouchers.
Maybe
places do vouchers, I guess. Gift vouchers.
Yeah, but then you don't need a Christmas part of the store for that.
No.
No.
Well, maybe just a little bit. Just a little section. No, they had a full-on, massive animatronic diorama thing set up in the one in Ipswich. There are polar bears and very slow-moving penguins. It's like, that's a bit much. It's a bit much. It's October. You've got
Maybe they just like carpentry and they like to build things and they just need an excuse.
Just build some penguins, yeah. But then they got 2.5 months to wait, before they could do some more carpentry. Build whatever other display they wanted in there. I don't know. It's a bit. I mean, I'm the type of person that is sick of Christmas by the time Christmas happens. Usually, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, everyone complains about the commercialization, but I mean, it's when the good stuff comes out so that people can buy it, I guess. So
I mean,
I don't know.
In film and video game land, yeah, I guess that's true.
Not so much nowadays in video games. People don't really do Christmas any longer.
Well, I mean, we've still got.
That's true.
I mean,
especially not this year.
It's quite the big launches are still happening. Call of Duty's still happening.
But
Halo's
don't count as Christmas.
Year. Halo's a December launch. That's pretty close.
Not intentionally, I don't think, though.
No, probably not. Forza's November. They definitely skew towards holiday season. They're like the triplest of the AAA launches.
So were they playing the music, though, in Glass Wells? That's the real...
No, they were not, thankfully.
Yeah, that's the real nightmare.
That is absolutely too far.
Yeah. And it's just the same every year because occasionally there's one new Darkness song or something to add to the giant, already 100-song playlist that loops over and again.
You mean that one time the Darkness did it? Did it, yeah.
I think they tried to do it twice.
Oh, did they?
There's two of them. I think there's two of them, aren't there?
I only know one.
Maybe I'm wrong. But they succeeded. They succeeded in making a novelty Christmas song that actually managed to creep onto the yearly playlist.
They did, yeah.
You do actually hear it every year, I think.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, so, no, I definitely do.
That is that's the real trick. If you can do well enough that it actually sticks on the playlist, because it'll be there forever. Because there's so few that make it onto the stupid playlist.
Well,
that's the same every damn year.
There's at least one that you think might get close every year, right? Or that the radio seems to think might get close, but then you'll never hear for it again.
Because they basically stopped trying to do Christmas-specific songs, even for the X Factor song at Christmas. It's just it's just this guy doing a song that happens to come out at Christmas, and therefore is not Christmas themed, so we can't reuse it next Christmas.
Yeah, they moved away from that pretty quick. I don't think X Factor songs were really Christmassy.
They never were really, but they were filling that slot of the big Christmas song, except it's not a Christmas song.
Yeah, well, that's Christmas number one is a different thing, right? They were going for that.
Well, sure, but that's what Christmas songs used to be. The number one song at Christmas.
Well, I mean, now it's just Mariah Carey every year.
Yeah,
thanks to streaming and the fact that it all counts as, the more something is streamed, the more it counts towards chart placement now. People tend to start streaming Mariah Carey on loop, apparently, and she just wins.
Makes sense. I saw her video last year where she was like in bed all like tired and puffy eyed and everything, and then sprang out the next morning like looking like a Christmas elf. Like it's the season for my song to make all the money in the world for me that I don't have to do anything. Hooray.
I'm suddenly okay.
Yeah, that's quite funny. And every year people go on about how Fairy Tale of New York is like the good one. And it's like, no, I've heard it too many times now.
Yeah.
Maybe once it was. Maybe once it was the good one.
Also,
now...
because it's not, despite its tone, that's the thing. A lot of Christmas, I was about to say, despite its tone, it's quite a miserable damn song. And actually,
yeah, you cheap, lousy faggot.
Yeah. But there's, you maggot. But there's quite a few of them actually when you think about it. It's like the Mariah Carey's track actually came up on that podcast I listened to on Spotify, the 60 songs that explain the 90s.
Oh, I need to listen to that.
And
yeah.
But it's a song about, it's kind of about not having the person you want, really. It's a little bit like, oh, woe is me. This is a what's the word? Like a non-reciprocal love kind of thing, I guess. Yeah. And it's like, but we're going to sing it like a Christmas song. Happy, happy, happy.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, that works. Yeah, but I know.
And then you got Michael, what's his face? Michael, Last Christmas. That's not really a happy song, is it?
And that I still haven't seen it, but that super literal film version, right, of that song basically with Daenerys Targaryen. My friend's in it. Well, I say friend, someone I knew at university is in it, but I still haven't seen it. But yeah, isn't it like literally she gave her heart away, like a heart transplant or something? I think that's part of the plot. Okay, and it's like a jukebox, and it's like a jukebox because she's seeing the ghost of the guy who gave her heart or something, literally, or something stupid like that. What a great plot.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, bitch.
Yeah. It's quite weird. What's her name? Khaleesi?
Oh.
No, you haven't even watched Game of Thrones, have you?
Is it Khaleesi? No, but I know the actor you mean.
Actress, yeah, she was in Terminator. No, I was about to say Sarah Connor. That was the role, Sarah Connor.
Oh, Lena Headey. Is
no,
it that one? No,
although she played Sarah Connor as well, did she?
Yeah,
yeah, she's also in Game of Thrones. Did Lena?
Because I thought she was in Sarah Connor as well, or maybe not.
I don't think so. Oh, this is ridiculous. Very famous person. Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, Last Christmas. Yeah, not exactly happy. Especially if it's literal.
Last Christmas, I might have died a bit. And the very next day you gave it away. Does that mean like the person had to be retransplanted?
That is the problem with that concept.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
You're both dead.
Yeah.
Last Christmas, I gave you my bum heart. And it failed you as well.
The very next day, you gave it away. Man, double transport plant.
I mean, that could be the twist. It could be like it's like you think you're seeing a ghost, but you're also actually a ghost.
Right, double twist.
Bruce Willis was a ghost all along.
Yeah, exactly. Except also the child is a ghost in this analogy.
This one. Yeah. Luckily, it's not that hard to avoid the Christmas playlist these days. If you don't go, you don't
go to shops.
You could just buy stuff online.
I avoided it pretty well last year. Yeah, simply because no one was going out, and it's so Whamageddon might have been the easiest year.
Oh yeah.
I did make it like within like 2 or 3 days of Crimbo one year, and it's like that was pretty decent before I got whammed. But then no, I think I only got halfway through December.
I got whammed by our virtual Christmas party company. Zoom Christmas party. They whammed us in the middle of it, and no one else knew what the Whamageddon was. I don't think so. It was just me going, "No, that was like 9th of December or something." Oh well.
I mean, my personal opinion is that pretty much every Christmas song, just in structure and in tone and thing, it just seems universally bad, right? Like. but then music critics and like other people seem to think they're the best, and it's like, why? They just seem so terrible.
Do they?
It's like, I don't know. It's like musicals.
Is the enemy
me,
going on about how great they are?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't. Not that I don't even know if the enemy exists. I presume it does.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
I was just trying to think of music journalists.
I don't know. They just. I don't. Why do people enjoy them? I just don't understand Christmas music. It's just not. It's not good.
You're in the spirit of buying tons of shit. Yeah. I don't know.
Has anyone done that? Has anyone made? Oh, someone must have, right? Just released the capitalist anthem. Well,
of course.
Well, then there's the whole weird subgenre of semi-ironic, but not really in the end, like punk Christmas songs. Where nowadays, because it's funny, right, to do a punk Christmas song.
Is this like trailer core, but for Christmas songs? Like,
I guess. I don't know. So
yeah, but people got lazy with that as well, where they just like, we're not even going to bother making a new song. We're just going to upvote an ancient song that is not even really about Christmas. It's just not Christmas. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine, anyone?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, well that was good. Like the year when they tried to get that was an anti-X Factor thing as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's like,
Which where Rage Against the Machine makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls got to number 2 one year.
Is that a Christmas song?
No, but it was. Was it
released?
It was in the Christmas runnings. It was a Christmas number 2.
Was it released then specifically? Like, is it actually a Christmas song, or was it just like that was when it came out?
I think it's the latter. Yeah,
because it would do better than Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I unironically love that song.
Which one?
Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls.
The Chocolate Salty Balls.
It's got a good groove. It's very singable.
That whole Chef Aid album was really weird. He obviously quite liked singing, like Trey and that, whatever. Like that whole version of like Sail Away, Come Sail Away with all Cartman style.
Oh yeah.
It's completely mad.
Sail away.
So, come sail away, you guys. Yes. Seriously.
So cool.
Man, South Park's still going. I think it's got renewed for multiple seasons.
I can't remember the last time I watched a South Park. It's like people still tell me it's still good, but like I haven't dipped in for years.
It can be good. It's definitely kind of more variable than less consistent than it used to be. But they tend to do like big season openers or closers and stuff and special type things that work. Yeah.
I don't know if
I've kind of lost track of what's going.
I don't think I've seen much since like the Human Sentai pad, that sort of era.
Oh, that was a while back. Yeah. Because now they live like Randy and the Marshes live on Randy's farm, weed farm, because he's a weed farmer. It's called Tegrity Weed, because he's got so much tegrity.
Nice.
I mean, they just really leaned into the whole Randy thing, which is what was always good.
Cream freeze.
Exactly. It's like that.
Man. I'll tell you what I did watch. Now we're segueing into actual media.
Not music, which is clearly not media.
Not music. It's not media. No, it's an expression. I watched that Bond film. Oh
yeah, I haven't seen it.
It is good. I can confirm it is good. It's not great. It's not Skyfall, but it's or Casino Royale for that matter, which are pretty great. But it's pretty good.
Got some good action going on.
Yeah, there's some well crafted scenes. They're sort of
nice.
It feels like they in terms of the actions pieces that they're trying the Quantum of Solace thing again, which would normally be kind of like, oh god, what are you doing? There's so much shaky cam, I cannot see what's going on, and there is quite a fair amount of shaky cam going on here.
Right, kind of Bourne style.
Yeah, almost. It looks, and it sometimes it has that problem where, I think is a kind of like a sign that you're not quite nailing your action pieces, where where you're supposed to be looking sometimes isn't particularly well telegraphed. It's like a good action scene kind of leads your eyes to where the hits are going to be, and where where the action that you should look at should be. And there are definitely moments where I don't think that's the case here, and like where something happens in an awkward position on frame. So while the shot in itself looks quite nice, when you cut it together, it's hard to follow. You don't quite see it. Yeah. So I think it has that problem from here to there. It's got the problem of some kind of throwaway characters here and there, which is a very modern thing. Like it's like here's a person who seems important. Oh, they're not. Here's someone else that might be a running theme throughout this film. Oh, here's a cool person. Oh, we'll never see them again. And they also break some Bond rules. I'm not going to spoil it, but they do some things that you wouldn't expect because it's Daniel Craig's last film.
Right. Because that was like supposedly. I mean, I don't know what the things are, but I mean, it seemed like Danny Boyle was going to direct it, and he got taken off the project because he wanted to break Bond rules.
Right, but they still do. There's still a few that there's not a huge amount. It's still a Bond film, but it's and the Daniel Craig era has moved away from the sort of, I don't know, the cheesy suave Bond that I guess we grew up with, I suppose. They've moved away from that. So it's already been breaking rules the entire time. But but this felt almost more away from that in places.
The thing that
even though the big bad is kind of like as equally stupid as it normally is,
right?
Like
because like the Craig Bonds have done this thing where they tried to make a kind of arc and continuity between them, but
which is a blessing and a curse. It worked for Skyfall, but I don't think it particularly hung together well in Spectre, which I didn't think was that good. And I think they try not to do that so much here. There are references back because good. Of course they are, but there aren't as many as you're going to get lost.
Cool. I was a bit concerned when they brought back is Blofeld in it for one scene or something in a Hannibal Lecter style. They already did the Hannibal Lecter thing with the guy in Skyfall.
You're right. He's on screen for one scene anyway.
Right. But you're saying overall good.
Overall good. Yeah. It's a long one. It's the longest Bond film they've ever made. It's like 2 hours 40.
Sheesh.
So it's It is long, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's long for bad reasons. It doesn't feel particularly padded, if that's the thing.
Right.
There's an awful lot of films these days, like even Marvel films occasionally, where you're just like, that this scene only exists to be an action scene or an attempt to be cool. Like you could lift this entire part out and the film would be okay.
Yeah, totally.
And this doesn't really have that. I think everything has a purpose.
That's good. Oh, maybe I'll give it a try. There's a new cinema open near me at Finsbury Park. There's a picture house opened. And did I say I'd gone to see Top Gun?
What? The original?
The original
Maverick's
Top
not out yet.
Maverick's not out. So I saw actual original Top Gun at the preview. And it was a decent screen. So hopefully go and see Bond, test it out for then seeing Dune, which is the big one.
Yeah, yes. Dune's out. So, I mean, I don't have a Cineworld or a cinema pass anymore, so it's like I got to feel the full brunt of cinema costs this time. Although I went to the Empire, not the Cineworld. The Empire in Ipswich is cheaper, and the screens are a lot smaller, but not bad, if that makes sense. Like it's a small, all the screens are like small auditoriums rather than big auditoriums, but I don't think you're really losing much.
No. Is that? Where is that Empire? That's not the old Odeon, is it? No, that's
no. Old Odeon has been taken over by someone else. I think a church or something.
Yeah, church thing. Church.
Whereas the Empire's in the Butter Market. I think where
TK that's
Maxx
right.
or something in that area used to be.
Yeah. I forgot there's a cinema there now. Yeah.
There's a bowling alley up there as well.
Oh, cool.
which we didn't go in, but as I walked past, I got that vague sort of like, oh, they still make places like this, and as the neon lights of all the cash grab arcade machines are there.
Yeah,
like no actual games, just like bad
arcade games,
grabbers and.
Yeah, it would be pachinko, but we don't have anything cool like that.
Pachinko's not Pachinko's one of those games that could be cool, except like because of its like semi-gambling nature in Japan, and the fact that it's like the only place you can smoke. It's a hellscape.
Yeah, of course.
And also it's extremely loud.
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly help.
Yeah.
I mean, those machines don't have to be as loud as they are, but I guess.
Well, it's the physics, not like it's not like the audio. It's like the actual physics of metal balls hitting metal rods.
Yeah,
a million times a second.
But it's not even that. When you like walk, when I was in Japan, and you just walk past a pachinko hall, and it's like, I mean, you can smell them first, but then you actually walk past it, and just it sounds like the noise of just pure air condition and fat. It's like a server room is nearly about to catch fire. Is what it sounds like.
Right.
It's like there's just a. It's like I didn't really hear much of the clackety that you think might be the overriding noise, but like no, it's just fans.
Are you sure that wasn't the actual noise? That is the same noise.
Oh, I mean, maybe, yeah. Maybe there's just so many balls that it just sounds like wind. So many balls. Anywho, yeah, that was my cinemaing. I'm going to get dragged to Dune soon as well. It's like I say dragged. It's like I kind of want to see Dune because of Villeneuve, but also, I mean, it's Dune. It's like he's not had a particularly good run in the
so far, but it's good source material. I reckon he can make a good thing out of it. I'm quietly confident that it'll be good. Not sure. I want to really splash out on expensive IMAX tickets, you know. It's like, because there's so much money. But then it's still probably better than me buying a card that I don't use all that much. But then we've got Matrix. I mean, that's the film I really want to see. I have to admit that trailer was intriguing. I just saw the Batman trailer and I was like, maybe.
Oh,
no.
Have they, what, for our Pats
the
Batman?
Yeah, our
Batman.
Pats Man. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like it had a good visual style, but I don't know. Like the teaser trailer was really cool, but obviously, if you start to reveal more, you start to get more of a sense of the film, and it's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. The last time I saw something from it, I wasn't convinced.
Yeah, but yeah, the Matrix one, like, I mean, it could go either way, but we'll definitely give it a try.
Give it a go, like.
Yeah.
Films. Are we done with films?
Pretty much.
Games.
What's going on in the world of video games? It's time for the news. Twitch has been hacked. Oh no.
Twitch has been hacked. Like, someone... Of course, this was posted on 4chan, and like some guy, it just seems like one dude potentially has just managed to get all of Twitch somehow. Like,
as in all the code, right?
All of the code and an awful lot of documents around its operation and things like that. I think it's all dated from 2019 onwards, but I don't know if the code means that like source repositories and all that. I don't know if that means it's like he has things going back further than that. But we do know that it's got things like people's payrolls since 2019.
Oh, man.
And that includes like the big name streamers and things like that. So,
so you can see how much they're paid.
And I guess
it's a lot, right?
Well, yeah, for the big names, yeah, it is. It's that classic thing, right? It's like only the top like echelon of streamers actually make real money.
Well,
and it's
only the top echelons are the ones getting paid by Twitch directly.
Yeah, there's a few that definitely are. Yeah, the where the deals have been made.
But can you see the money from the fans, though, or the subs or whatever?
Yeah, I believe you can. Yeah, I believe you'll be able to see all of that data, the subs and whatever that... They've got Twitch. I don't understand how Twitch works anymore. It seems to have so many layers of like being able to like be a premium member and then pay into specific people or subscribe to specific people. There are so many ways you can give money to Twitch.
Yeah, they make it pick your way of giving us tons of money.
Yeah.
Or multiple ways.
I don't know if they went as far as like you could like, can you buy emotes and things like that? Is that a thing? Like
kind of. I mean, like you get channel specific emotes when you're subscribed to channels.
Oh, I see.
So it's essentially you're buying emotes.
Yeah.
And then you can use them anywhere.
Then you can use them in any channel.
I see.
And so did the channels design the emotes? Or
You just upload them like an icon, essentially.
The big ones get to put their own graphics in. I don't know if can anyone do that, or is it literally reserved for the...
It's got like, the same as YouTube upload limits or whatever. If you're smaller, you don't get as many or whatever.
Right, I see. Yeah. Or maybe you have to pass a certain threshold to get anything. YouTube plaque status or whatever it is. So many people seem to have those silver plaques now. Yeah.
Yes. I think they need to up their like threshold for giving away the YouTube plaques.
Or lower it. I'm okay with that too.
I don't think even if they lowered it, we'd ever get one.
No, definitely not. So I don't think anyone really knows what the ramifications of this are yet. I guess from my perspective, the interesting thing is what happens to their streaming tech at this point.
Does anyone care?
Well, yeah, because it's tricky. I like you could argue that like, okay, it might be interesting for engineers to take a little look at it to see like exactly how they're doing it and exactly how they get it to work as well as it does, that kind of stuff. But in the same breath, like you can't use any of it because it's like if anyone was caught with copying code or copying techniques, I mean techniques less so, I guess. But it's like if there's obvious signs of you just ripped this straight out of Twitch, no one's going to touch you with a barge pole, right? It's like it's legal suicide. So how useful it really is probably not great. And the other thing is like, did all these people on payroll and stuff, have they essentially been doxed? It's like, is there too much personal information in those documents and things like that? Is that a problem? I don't think there's been too much coverage on that side of things, but hey, it's pretty wild someone managed to get all of this.
Yeah.
And I think like they described what we've seen so far as part 1. So there's probably more somehow.
Right.
Maybe that's like the pre-2019 stuff.
And is there any motive for this person? Like,
I don't know.
All this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, hackers do hack, right? They just
hackers go and hack. Yeah, that's true.
Bragging rights. It's 4chan.
Yeah, I suppose. Ah, well.
Gotta earn my Bezo coins.
Oh yeah, of course it's Amazon, isn't it? I forgot about that.
Yep. So I guess there is one thing I've missed from all of this, and I find this kind of funny. The code drop showed signs that they are working on something called Vapor, which is a rumored storefront for Twitch, so Amazon can start to rival Steam. And I find it hilarious that they are calling it Vapor.
Right.
Well, that might be a code name.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but like, it has to be, surely. But it's pretty funny. It's like it's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless it will never see the light of day, and that's why they've called it Vapor.
Well, also quite possible.
It's a Twitch and Amazon's relationship seems odd to me because it's like you've got Twitch and all that stuff, and I think there is some. But Twitch Prime isn't directly tied to if you've got an Amazon Prime account or anything like that. But it's still called Twitch Prime. And also Amazon Prime Gaming is kind of a thing now. So if you're a Prime member, you can get benefits through the Prime Gaming page on Amazon. There's some games that come up for free on there every now and then just by being an Amazon Prime member. The two aren't really linked still. So I don't know. It just feels a bit weird. In fairness, Amazon don't link to many things like they should. Still don't think the Ring ecosystem and Alexa are well enough integrated yet. Grr.
Right, because they obviously Ring is a separate company originally, right? And
yeah, but it's owned by Amazon now, so yeah.
Right, yeah, they don't integrate them so well. Yeah.
Nope, not as well as I would like anyway, but that's standard for smart homing. And is par for the course. So that's the Twitch news. Let's move on to our Nintendo segment.
Nintendo!
So, last time we had a direct for them, they gave us the Smash news that there would be Smash news.
And also the Animal Crossing news that there would be Animal Crossing news.
Indeed.
Which have both happened since the last podcast.
Absolutely.
we now have the news.
So, the final character for Super Smash Brothers, drum roll if you please.
No.
That note was so fast. Is Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Which is really annoying because it was the one that I literally said it couldn't possibly be over and over.
Yeah, because of licensing hell, right?
Because it was another Square character.
It's another Square character, but it's also a Disney-owned character to make things complicated.
Yeah, but I had never thought that would have been a problem, really. Because it's like, if we've already managed to get the Disney license enough to make these other games, and they're like current games, it's not like an old franchise.
No, Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't that old, and also they're making that rhythm game, Kingdom Hearts
so
rhythm
it's not like those licenses have expired or whatever, and you'd have to go through all this rigmarole to get them back. It's like it is a current franchise, so why is it a problem? I wouldn't have thought it would be.
I guess it's negotiating two. You've got to negotiate with two IP owners rather than just one, I suppose.
Sure, but I mean, is there any problem with that negotiation apart from it being an inconvenience?
Yeah.
It's like, I just can't see there being much argument.
Sakurai's backstory in the video was that it was actually difficult to achieve somehow. Like something made it hard. Something made it hard for them to do that because they said like back in the Smash Bros for Wii U, what characters do you want survey? Sora was the winner. It was the one was the clear favorite that people wanted adding to Smash for Wii U, but they haven't been able to add him into the series What is wrong with me today? Into the series until now because of all the licensing hassle.
Except then they didn't do any of the licensing apparently.
Not enough. No. So Sora's there. And even though Disney now have a copyright notice in Smash Brothers because of the weird dual ownership of Kingdom Hearts, there are no Disney characters. It's like it's not full on Kingdom Hearts. It's the Square side of Kingdom Hearts, if that makes sense, has come over. But there's absolutely no Disney, and it's I don't know. That makes me care much less than I already did.
I guess the Disney licensing is the shape of Mickey Mouse's head. That is part of the Keyblade design, and it's on the background and the level a couple of places.
It is. I mean, maybe that's the only reason it is that Disney tag is on there, because the Mickey Mouse symbol is as part of Sora and part of the Keyblade. Also, he's gonna have a sword wielder, you know.
Yeah, I mean that was the classic problem with Sora, but at least they made him a nice generic character. They didn't do anything too ridiculous, apart from making him fucking impossible to kill, apparently.
Really?
Well, it's because he's super floaty in the air and has a double recovery, essentially. Like his up B, and then you can link the up B into the side B, so you can just recover from basically anywhere that you're not dead.
Yeah, but he's an easy launch because he's super light. Yeah. He's like the lightest character in the game. So it's like if you kill it, if you're going to kill him, it will be in a one hit scenario. If you don't kill him, he will come back.
He can recover.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So he's and that's really the only quirk. Really, everything else is kind of standard.
And also, I'm sure people are going to be pissed because the way the air combo with the up B and the side B works is very reminiscent of how Bayonetta used to work in Smash 4, which is one that everyone hated a lot. It's just and the thing is, Bayonetta, even back in Smash 4, it was I feel like it was more of a skill to pull off, whereas this seems like you just push up B and you just push side B, and it locks on as well.
Right, yeah. Yes, sounds like he's going to. I mean, the whole focus was on his aerial play, right? Because he flies. That's kind of his.
Except he doesn't in the game. That's weird.
I don't know. I think he became that way, right? Like he didn't in the game, and then maybe past Kingdom Hearts 1, he became floaty.
I meant in Smash Bros. He doesn't literally. He
doesn't literally fly.
He's just floaty.
I mean, I guess they couldn't just make a straight up flying character.
That would be ridiculously overpowered.
He's floaty like Kirby, or
a bit more sort of Jigglypuffy, or maybe Mewtwo-y.
Yeah, it's more like Mewtwo, like that weird, like low physics almost.
Yeah. A bit momentum-y. Still, I mean, it's not the result we were after because we
were after anything apart from that at this
pretty
point.
Much we've given up on that one. Anything. Yeah. I mean, Doom Guy's in it now, but not as a main character. Yeah, just a costume for the Mii Gunner.
Costume?
Yeah, because so the Mii fighters have been in the game since the start. There are like 3 classes that you can style Miis into, and there's like a bucket load of costumes you can buy for them. So Doom Guy is now a costume for the Mii Gunner. Can you mix and match those? Could you put the Doom costume on a Mii swordsman?
No, not the class. You can mix and match the parts. So you can just have a Doom helmet on whatever else body you want. Probably, unless it is a full set, because sometimes it limits it.
Again, licensing, probably. But anyway, that's the end of Smash Ultimate, apparently. And everyone's saying it's like, well, Sakurai's going to take a break now, and then there are other threads saying, and then there are other threads saying, well, he hasn't really had a break since 1999.
Yeah, that also.
But then, who really has a break? Like when they say a break in that context, it's like you must have a holiday, right?
Well, also, on some level, he's probably still making the Kirby games. On some level, I don't know how involved he is in those at this point, but that is his thing.
He must be involved with that Forgotten City or whatever, Forgotten Land. What is that Kirby game called?
Forgotten
Land. Okay, because Kirby.
Yes,
Sakurai is Kirby.
Literally.
So that's that. Talk to us about the Animal Crossing thing, Zegel. What's happening?
Well, what's happening is things that have happened about 7 months too late is what's happened. So it was like back in March when Animal Crossing was a year old, and therefore you were basically done with it because you play Animal Crossing for a year to see everything. That's just how the game works. It was like, well, now we need new content, and then 7 months later, they're like, here's all this shit that's like making the game so much better and all this new content, but we're kind of way too late for anyone to care.
So it's twofold, isn't it? So there's a November patch.
Yeah, the free part.
With Brewster.
Well, yes, the coffee shop's back. The gyroids are back, I guess.
So I had a swig of beer in my mouth there, but yeah, gyroids. And
then a bunch of... Well, it's like there's those things that are back, which is obviously, making the game more complete. But then there's all the stuff which is just like, wouldn't have this been nice to have while you were playing the game? Like, you can instead of the merchants that just appear randomly on your item now on your island, now you can go to the stupid photo guy's island and build like a merchant plaza there where they'll just be.
Oh wow!
And it's just like, well, that makes that way more convenient.
So you can just build a mall.
I mean, I don't know if they'll always be there. Maybe they'll only show up randomly there as well. I don't know how that's actually going to work.
A different random set potentially.
Yeah, and then there's like. Now they've put in the things that everyone was asking for, like having a storage that accesses your house's storage, but without having to go into your house, so you can just access it from the outside.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and like
that makes sense.
All the things about like now you can fit through half tile gaps if you've got a lot of furniture in your house, so you can squeeze through things,
right? And
you can like permanently place ladders, so you don't have to have ramps everywhere if you want to get up the cliffs. And you don't have to carry your personal ladder around with you all the time.
That seems nice.
It's just like all these like quality of life things. It's like it's way too late for this. Even 7 months ago, it was kind of too late.
Yeah, it's great if people have only just started to get back into Animal Crossing, right? And that's what Nintendo hopes for with all of their games, right? Yes. They don't just have a hot year. They have a tail. But yeah, Animal Crossing, like Animal Crossing fans seem to always go in when the game comes out, right? And then,
I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah,
it lasts exactly a year for most people, probably. I mean, that is inherent in the game.
I mean, I guess what I mean by that is that, like, I don't know if Animal Crossing is one of those games that has a sales tail for Nintendo. Like,
I mean, I guess it probably does.
Not like on the Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart level, anyway.
I mean, there's not really any. Like, I mean, I guess it's not any more than any other game a like time specific thing, apart from the hype at the launch.
Sure. So to that end, how are you feeling about paid DLC?
Well, I mean, it makes sense for Animal Crossing because they have done pretty much exactly what I said they should do. They put Happy Home Designer into this game, except as a DLC, which, I mean, that makes sense. It's a lot of content. Happy
Home Designer. So what was that? What was that?
That was what this DLC is.
I know, but what was that originally? Was it the phone one?
It was a separate game.
Oh, was it
the last generation?
One? Oh, it was on 3DS, was it?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that was what this DLC is. But again,
oh no, it was the camping one. That was
the camping was the phone
one.
So yeah, they've just made that again, but in this game. Although annoyingly, it's like the one thing that I very specifically said that I wanted in Animal Crossing, the ability to redesign your residence houses on your island. You only get that with the DLC, so I still won't be able to do it. No.
Wow. Unless you're tempted by
absolutely not.
By Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pass. Oh boy. So there was an argument before expansion pass existed that Nintendo Switch Online, despite being cheap in terms of the three major console providers' online services, single user is about 18 quid a year for Switch Online to give you access to online play, cloud saves, the NES and SNES libraries, and the crappy app. Right, because they made the crappy app limited by this at one point. Anyway, so yeah, despite being quite cheap, there's a bit of me that's always felt I'm not sure Nintendo could justify it, right? And there aren't enough. There isn't enough of an online presence, or that system isn't strong enough to justify paying for at all. Not even just a little bit. And there were arguments. It's like, well, Splatoon got big, so it was kind of helping them to pay for the ongoing server costs for running Splatoon and offering all the updates for that. But those dried up, so it's like, so now what are we paying for, guys? And it's like, oh, and now now a game that has updates like Animal Crossing is now getting DLC instead of like free updates. Okay, maybe this isn't such a great deal still.
But it had free updates for the whole time.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like,
and then Splatoon had a DLC.
Splatoon did have a DLC, yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like it's that same feeling. It's like it's all tying back together. It's like, why are we paying you for this? Whereas you okay, Xbox Live Gold and PS Plus are about 50, 60 quid a year. No, not that much. The $50-$60, I can't remember what the pound equivalent is, maybe like 40, which is a lot more than 18, let's be frank. But those services are mature and they work, and you get free stuff, and quite a bit of free stuff, and often good free stuff. Like, yeah, shout out PS Plus. Like the games you've been churning out on your Plus service are pretty great, whereas Gold's stuff, not so hot. I mean, you get Aero this month, which is a good game, but it's not like a top tier. AAA product. So it's, I don't know. It feels wrong. It feels wrong. So then the expansion pass comes along and says, well, we knew we were going to get some N64 games, a total of 10, I think, at launch, 10 N64 games, and a bit of a Genesis library. You can get those things. And we'll throw in the Animal Crossing DLC as well. If you're that way inclined, you can get that as part of this. But we want you to pay double. We're going to double the Switch Online cost to
Oh boy.
to £35 a year for an individual user. And that doesn't sound like a great deal.
Well, there's two things that are like there's one theoretical mitigation and one sort of actual legitimate mitigation that is maybe the annoying part. So the theoretical one is if it becomes more than just the Animal Crossing DLC. If this is like the DLC tier of the expansion pass where you just get any DLC that they do.
I mean, if that was the deal, that would sound way better. Like if you've were paying, signed up to this subscription, it's like, hey, that Breath of the Wild DLC, you got it.
Yeah.
Hey, that Hyrule Warriors DLC, yeah, you got it. Those I don't know, all the Mario Golf updates have been free so far, I guess.
Yeah.
The Smash DLC, hey, that's free. Or if you've got this pass, it's like then actually this starts to make a hell of a lot of sense.
Although the then slight question about that would be like
Splatoon 3 is probably going to have DLC. Let's be honest.
The slight question about that would be like, do you get the DLC or is it only while you're subscribed? Because
it's going to be that.
They haven't really specified yet. I don't think even in the Animal Crossing thing they said.
I think I've heard it described as access to.
Yeah.
So I think it will be like whilst you're subscribed, you can use the DLC stuff, which is a slightly odd place, but like,
yeah. So that's the theoretical way this would start to make more sense. But of course, Nintendo haven't said fucking anything. They barely even said this. It was like they accidentally released the price during the Animal Crossing thing.
Accidentally. I mean, it's a weird one because it's the opposite of how everyone else is playing this. It's like Game Pass. Obviously, you get base games generally. Yeah. Sometimes you get the whole package, but like most of the time, it's just base game, and then you still have to pay for DLC if you want it. Same with PS Plus, and same with PlayStation Now, I believe, for what limited stuff that offers. But yeah, they're going the other side. It's like, no, you still got to buy base games, but we'll throw in the DLC.
But then the other less theoretical mitigation of this, which is not really a mitigation, but like just a dumb thing that's really annoying, is because they have the family pass, everyone just uses that as like all their friends.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just like it's like that's not actually so what Nintendo are doing is trying to recover some money from accidentally giving people a way around paying money.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. Are they trying to? Well, unless, people will just buy the family expansion pass, but they have to everyone in that group has to agree, right? And that friend circle has to be like, yeah, I want DLC.
Well, or they don't, and they just get the expansion content otherwise. It's if like 2 people out of the 8 that you can theoretically have want the Animal Crossing DLC, then that pretty much covers them for paying for the actual DLC.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I guess the good thing is that like I was a bit worried that when I first saw this, especially that the Animal Crossing thing was thrown in, that was the only way to get the Animal Crossing DLC, was that you had to be part of this. But no, they're like the paid DLC will be standalone. Yeah. You know, you don't need this expansion pass to get it. And it's like, so they haven't completely screwed you. I don't know. I just think Nintendo have a tendency of overvaluing themselves, obviously.
Yep.
But this feels a bit like a piss take. It's too much.
I guess they're seeing what they can get away with.
Oh, yeah. But Nintendo don't really have... I wouldn't call them the most flexible of outlets. They tend to come up with something and stick to it, even when it's bad.
Yeah. They need to realize that, some things are good, some things are a bit insulting. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen a single positive opinion on this. It's just too much. Although, I will say, the shots of the N64 stuff, hey, they up-resed it. They put in some work in their N64 emulator, whatever it is they're using. It's like it's doing a resolution bump.
Well, that's nice to see. I mean, if it's because they did a decent job with what they called the mini NES and SNES. Or
yeah. And there's the N64 mini hasn't materialized, which was the rumor for a while, but there's apparently been no physical signs that they're even thinking about this.
But they've got this, right?
But they've got this,
presumably a decent or their stab at the N64 emulation themselves, having, you know.
I mean, I doubt they're doing it themselves. I bet they've bought in some technology.
Oh yeah, probably yeah. That's what they did with the others, right?
As most people do. Well, we're talking about Switch and emulators. There was this other story floating around that I don't know the details exactly. I can't remember them exactly, but there's a Saturn emulator that has been released on Switch as part of like a shmup developers collection. They sort of put out a sort of like, here's our game collection, and it's got a load of Saturn games on it. Apparently the emulator that was written for this thing is actually pretty good. So people have been working to rip this emulator out of this collection and figure out what it's doing to help improve the Saturn scene. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's a bit cheeky. You probably shouldn't steal emulators, but in a weird way, emulation's kind of the Wild West, right? It's an odd place to be.
It is an odd place, yeah. It's amazing how much effort people put into it. Like, it's great that, you know, there's so much love for keeping these old systems and these old games alive.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, not that old in some cases.
No. Well, yeah, given that the Switch is now emulatable pretty well, which is, you know, that's dubious ground.
Definitely.
That's very dubious ground. I think it was also a Kotaku article where they were saying that it's like, hey, the PlayStation 2 is now officially retro because it's like 20 years old. So it's apparently 20 years is the cutoff.
That makes it retro.
Yeah. I would have said the PS2 was already retro for quite a while, but, you know. That's me. Anyway, that's not all the Nintendo news, though. In other controversy, let's talk Metroid Dread. Apparently a excellent video game.
A good game.
Possibly.
All told, so told.
Yeah, you know, possibly running into that Nintendo overpriced category, you know, a 50 £50 game that's 10 hours and you're done. It's weird that I was just thinking about that, actually. It's weird that I think about it in that way, because like it's not that I haven't bought games at that price before that I knew going into it would be about 6 to 8 hours long. I've done that. That was Gears of War. Like, I remember those, like the first 3 Gears of War I lapped up, bought them at launch, and was just like, yeah, I know these aren't going to be very long, and I'm probably not going to engage with the multiplayer, but I don't care. And it's like, and then it comes to Metroid, which is a series I'm more fond of the Prime games than I am the 2D ones. Yeah, sure. Prime is my jam. But I'm still quite a fan, I would say. And yeah, there's still something in me saying, like, or maybe it's just I'm an adult now. I value money more. I don't know. But there's still a bit of me that still says, like, paying a full $50, 50 quid for a 2D Samus 10-hour game. I don't know.
The 2D is the problem. That's why it seems worse.
Yeah, which is a terrible viewpoint, really. I know it's a bad viewpoint, but it's a anyway. That aside, the controversy is not about that. The controversy is about the Metroid Dread credits apparently don't include all of the developers that worked on the game due to a policy at Mercury Steam, who are the developers, that you have to have been working on the project for 25% or more of its length in order to get credited. And I kind of think that sucks, right? Because how do you measure the significance of someone's involvement and like by just some arbitrary time slice? It seems wrong. Like, what if you're an artist who did all the work you needed to do, got out, and then your art is in the game and you're not credited? That feels wrong. Like, however small the bit of art you contributed to it, if it's in there.
Yeah, it seems mean-spirited, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Why not just... I mean, what harm does it do having a line in the credits?
Yeah, like, I guess it's to try and avoid the Ubisoft problem, right? Where they have a credit sequence that's literally 45 minutes long.
But who cares? I mean, they usually have like production babies when they put the names of the babies of the people.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I do think video game credit. The Ubisoft problem is like those credits are too long. They are too long. There's a lot of people involved in that game, but they shouldn't necessarily make you like sit through all of that. They should be listed somewhere. And like the problem with game credits is like in the industry, like they're actually used as a mechanism for figuring out who actually worked on what, right? So in terms of career paths and like the hiring and firing of specific individuals within the industry, credits are important. So this feels poopy in many ways. Because I was kind of like thinking about this. It's like, okay, so I was watching that Bond film, right? And they films tend to credit their catering teams.
Right, yeah.
and I'm sitting there going like, it's like, well, it's not I mean, I know they helped make the film a reality in some way, but they're not really making the film, right? It's like they have actually contributed to it. They've probably been contracted to come in and just serve food, right? It's like it's not a creative part of the process, unless they're like having to serve Bond-themed food throughout the entire filming process.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that are actually creative, like cameramen. They're not really creative. They've been told what to do.
That's a little different. There's a. I mean, I guess some cameramen can be creative, but it's like they are directly involved. Without them, the film isn't possible.
Yeah, and so is food.
It's where do you draw the line? But it's like,
yeah, well, I know what you mean. I know, but it's tricky. It's like the HR departments for all of Ubisoft, right? It's like, I'm pretty sure, an HR department for a company has absolutely no input on the product.
No.
But the company couldn't function without them, so do they get credited? It's like,
I think the only reason you don't see catering credits in a video game, for example, is because it's part of the building. Like, it's only in film credits because they have to actually have this whole
outsource
thing.
it. But then a bit of me wonders, like, why don't you just say catering by, not list the people who are catering,
well,
which seems to happen sometimes. It's like, if it's a one-liner, totally fine, right? Like, I don't know. It's difficult. I'm not going to say it's not. It's a tricky problem. But I don't think you've got it right, Mercury Steve. It's like not.
They definitely haven't.
Yeah.
This other discussion is a different problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit crappy. We do not condone your actions here at the Saladcast.
God, don't use that phrase again. We've had this discussion.
I've got it right this time. Come on. GTA Trilogy.
Grand Theft Auto. So what's the trilogy?
Yes, which one?
Like
is
GTA 3?
They are starting from 3.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's the 3D trilogy leading up to pre-5.
I'm pretty sure we already knew about this, right?
It had been heavily rumored, but now it's kind of officially confirmed.
But what is it? They're just bundling that together and making that a product.
We don't exactly know what's going on. So yeah, it's got 3, it's got 4, it's got 5. 3 Vice City and San Andreas. That's the one. It's the 3 era. 4's not in this. That's it. It stops at 4.
It's the free trilogy.
The 3 trilogy.
PS2 games.
2 frees.
Yeah.
It's that engine, probably.
Yeah, because it's not. Because so it's not 4, because 4 they would have then had to have thrown in Liberty City Stories, right?
Well, they wouldn't have had to, but
Ballad of Gay Tony and so they're calling this it's not just called GTA Trilogy, it's called like Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, which is a really stupid name. But
GTA 3 is old ass.
Yeah,
thing.
man.
I mean, it's primitive, there's GTA standards.
There's talk. The story, the last story I saw on this was that they are doing work to make the feel of the older games closer to the feel of GTA 5. So there is work being done.
I mean, it'd be hard work to make GTA 3 feel like San Andreas, to be honest. Like, I know it's the same engine, but like,
yeah, it's definitely
came
effort,
a long
right?
fucking way.
Yeah. It's definitely effort. So I don't know if they've made it 100% clear exactly how much of a remaster this is. If it's like a ground up GTA 5 level job, then whoo boy,
Don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be that. Those are too big. Those games are too big. But it would be really nice, right?
What, to have those in the quality of GTA 5? That's impossible.
Yeah.
That just wouldn't even make sense. Because,
especially given that GTA 6 is apparently, like, the reveal of GTA 6 is apparently, like, just around the corner.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's that rumoured? Generally.
Yeah, I read that a few weeks back. But
I'm, as always, super curious because they just alternate between New York and LA. Are they going to alternate again? Is it going to be Liberty City again? Or they're stuck? Like, I always wonder what they're going to do.
London. They should always just go back to London. I know it couldn't work.
It couldn't.
I know it couldn't work. But
GTA is
but it's not really London,
society.
Right? Yeah, but it's not really London. That's the thing. They could just mess with it. Americandan.
I don't think they'll ever do it. I think they're stuck. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. So let's see. Or I suppose what they could do is
is this why places
all of
go
America?
Well, yeah, this is why places like go to Mexico and like Latin America, is it? Because it's equally wild.
Well, there is always Vice City again.
I mean,
well, that's the problem, is that Vice City was fine because Miami was a reasonable size to do in that engine, but once it got to the size of 4 and 5, like Miami's too small a city to set a GTA game in when you've done the whole of Los Angeles, California, basically.
It includes the surrounding area. It's not just a city.
Yeah,
but
there could
there's
be
nothing
multiple
interesting
cities.
about. It's just Florida.
Well, there's arguably quite a large chunk of the GTA 5 map that's not very interesting, really.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to Orlando. It doesn't have to be just Miami,
But that's the thing. That's not
Universal Studios.
Got as much cultural kind of cachet, right? I mean, yeah, Disneyland. Yeah, there's not as many crime movies and stuff set there where in the same way as like New York and Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Boston. Just go to Boston. Like,
it's too small. They've screwed themselves by doing the bigger cities where the most cultural cachet is.
But it's not like
America.
those cities were real life sized, though, right? They're a microcosm.
No, that's true.
City.
They could still make New York or LA bigger, yeah, which is what they did already because they did New York for GTA 3 and LA for San Andreas, and then they did it again for 4 and then 5. Are they going to do it again? Is it like New York but like actual life size this time?
Yeah, I mean Vice is Vegas, right? Isn't it? So
Vice is Miami, right?
Oh,
Vegas was in San Andreas because they did the whole state. So they had, not that Las Vegas is in the same state as Los Angeles, but it's in the next state over. But yeah, they did. They squeezed Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Las Vegas into what at the time was a huge map, but now those cities are hilariously tiny.
Sure,
especially San Francisco, I'd say, is not very big. What's it called? San Fierro.
Can't remember.
GTA.
I never really got San Andreas. Well, I never really got into any of the 3 era games, particularly.
Vice City was the best one.
And I didn't massively get into. I think San Andreas is the one I put the most time into, but then just reached a point where it's like, nah, I'm not feeling this. And then
there's missions in that. If you're trying to play through San Andreas, there's missions in that are so annoying that they can just stop progress.
I found that in 4. That was my problem with 4. It's it's outside the trilogy, so like I put a lot more time into 4 than I did any of the probably previous 3 put together. But then reached a point that I was just a really, really annoying mission and just couldn't be arsed with it anymore. And I had to do that one mission to get through, and it just wasn't fun anymore.
Fair enough.
Fell off the whole game.
There's always one stupid mission. Like famously in San Andreas, it's like, even in Vice City, there's one where you have to fly little radio control helicopters around a building site that's hard. And then they did it again in San Andreas with little radio control like World War I biplanes or something in San Francisco, and that was like famously annoying. I don't know. I can't remember what it was in 4 that got people stuck.
I mean, I don't think it was the mission. I think the mission. I got stuck on a mission that was you started off doing a bit of sniping on top of a building, and then you had to go down, and then
I remember.
And then it was an approach to what looked like a hangar, I guess, and you I think it was where you first acquire the rocket launcher in the game. So you could blow a few things up, but then the problem I had with that mission is I would always get to that point. There was no checkpoints mid-mission, right? So I'd always get to that point, having done the sniping bit, start making my approach, blow some stuff up, and then out of nowhere, just randomly explode myself. Like, I just could never see where it came from. I could never see exactly what was triggering this explosion. I don't know if the floor was weirdly mined or what. There was no indication of what was going on. I would just die randomly every time. And it was just like, nope, I'm out. If I can't see what's happening, and I've tried this like 10 times now, and it's happened, the same thing has happened every time. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what you want me to do, game.
Yeah.
So I got angry and stopped.
Fair enough.
I did not want to go bowling.
Everyone always complained about that, but I just muted my own freaking cousin at the start of the game, and they never called me. Yeah, I just blocked him. It's like real life. Turn it on silent.
GTA Trilogy. So, talking about old games, Halo 2 has had the Master Chief Collection version. It has had a graphics pass similar to what they did to the original graphics of Halo 1 in Master Chief Collection. So now Halo 2 in, I guess you'd call it the vintage mode or the legacy, the original graphics mode, not the anniversary mode, is now much, much closer to the OG Xbox look than was in Master Chief. So I didn't even know about this because it seemed like there was a bit of a kerfuffle that was made of the original Halo graphics not being right.
Yeah,
in Master Chief. I didn't realize that the Halo 2 ones were off as well. I guess because I always play. I guess I didn't really use the legacy graphics mode because the anniversary touch up for Halo 2 was really very good.
Yeah, it was way better than the Halo 1 one. That's for sure.
So I ended up just playing through in anniversary mode.
Me
all
too.
The time.
I played that recently and it was good.
Yeah.
Well, I say recently, 6 months ago.
Sure. But yeah, just didn't peg that. I don't know, it didn't seem to be much news. It didn't seem to be much that Halo 2 actually suffered really badly. And it's like, yeah, as it turns out, it suffers really badly. Like,
I mean, you might as well just assume that everything in Master Chief's Collection is fucked up somehow and needs fixing. Because that is pretty much how that's gone.
But I didn't realise it was just how bad. Like, the funniest one for me is that there was no shadow or active lighting in cutscenes. None. So, like, coloured light sources weren't a thing. Like, the shadowing on the ground, like specular lighting on Master Chief's armor, and how it was like how scenes were designed so he would walk out of shadows at times and stuff, just lose all of their power.
Oh, I see.
And it's like there were transitions between scenes that were originally done as fades that would just become cuts and things like that that were missing and been brought back in. Cutscenes seem to suffer the worst, as it turned out. Like it seems like a lot of the actual main game was still relatively okay. But yeah, it's just some serious mistakes. It sounds like it's a classic tale of they started from what they thought was the easiest version to port, which was the Vista version of Halo 2.
Oh right,
which had in itself was a port. That might have been.
Was it Gearbox? No,
Gearbox did the Halo 1. I don't know who did the Halo 2 port. Not a clue. But it might. I think they picked up some issues from that, and then added their own suite of issues. But good on them for going back and fixing it. That's strong work. Needed to be done. I mean, it didn't need to be done, really, because you could just play Halo 2 on an OG. You could just get a disc of Halo 2, and I think you can put it into a Series X, and it will work. You know,
wow. Got one of those somewhere. Most people did from that era. You probably got a couple.
I think I've got a couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've got an original case version, and I've got the Steelbook version.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I never thought Halo 2, the effects got better, but I always thought it didn't look quite as good overall as Halo 1 because they reduced the poly count and like added loads of bump mapping, and it didn't quite work for me.
Poly count was down, bump mapping wasn't as good as the normal map technique as before, although it wasn't bad in places. But the gameplay was refined enough that it was
it was a great game.
Yeah, an improvement on the raw shooting.
Things were a bit brown.
I mean, yeah, there's some brown levels. Yeah.
But but yeah, that's cool if it's fixed up to be more authentic. But still, I like the new graphics for Halo 2.
Yeah, Halo 2 Anniversary is great. Where's my Halo 3 Anniversary? Come on.
Yeah.
I want to see them have a go.
I mean, it's not bad looking.
Oh, no. Halo 3 is still... It upscales really well.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see them have a go.
Compared to Halo 2 original, Halo 3 looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those moments where I hope Halo Infinite's good. I hope it's good.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's looking like the multiplayer could be good, even if the campaign is bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's had some. It's apparently been glitchy fun times during the test flights, but yeah, it's got promise. So there's that. So Toshihiro Nagoshi and Daisuke Sato are leaving Ryuga Gotoku Studio, which translated the Yakuza guys. So these are the founding members of that studio, and are probably, as I've mentioned to the guys before the podcast, they're probably the most Sega guys that are still at Sega.
Right.
So it's a shame they're leaving.
Do we know where they're going, or?
No, I don't think it's been mentioned what they're up to exactly, but it's so it's a bit of a shame because I've become quite a fan of Yakuza. Like, the early ones are a bit rough. Like 3 was a little hard to go back to, having played the Kiwami games. But man, those 2 Kiwami games, they are great. And I really want to play Judgment, and I really want to play Lost Judgment as well. And I can't wait to get through the whole season until I get to Yakuza 7, or was it like it's not called 7, it's Like a Dragon. If it weren't for other games happening and me putting arbitrary limits on how much Yakuza I spend my time in, it's like it would be all Yakuza. I would be binging it. Because I cannot get enough. They're really good. So yeah, I hope the reinvention of Like a Dragon is in good hands from here on. Because that studio does work. They've made a lot of games in a short space of time. So there's that. And finally to me anyway, so I reckon Zach's got one of those like, oh, by the way, I've got this other thing. Ubisoft aren't done with the Battle Royale concept. They've... this year, in fact, they've had kind of a relatively high-profile failure in Hyperscape, which they had hyped for a while, being like, this is our take on the Battle Royale formula. It's all in cyberspace, and it's all about movement, and it's about crazy abilities and mutations and things happening in over the course of a map. And it's like, yeah, all right, these seem like solid ideas, but you're entering a very crowded space. And as it turns out, they entered a very crowded space and no one cared. So Hyperscape hasn't really done anything. Did not go well. I'm not sure that's necessarily the game's fault. It looked okay, but you're just entering a space where you've got Fortnite, you've got Apex, and those 2 kind of rule. You know, PUBG is still about Warzone is Call of Duty's biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, and it's I can see why management would want a piece of that pie, but it's like gamers don't change necessarily. When they find a game they like that, they tend to stay with it, and that's what's happened. So they're going to try again against all of that knowledge and wisdom that I just imparted upon you. This time they feel like it needs a bit of the Clance, needs a bit of Tom Clancy all over it, needs a bit of Ghost Recon.
break out the clans.
Well, obviously
plants.
Because obviously that's real cheap to make because they already have all the assets.
Yeah. I cannot see that working.
Open up my plants texture library.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see that working, right? They could use what Wildlands or whatever that last Ghost Recon game. They could just pull all of that world data in. They could put all of the characters and weaponry in, and it could just be an absolute, just like, yeah, let's just crap this out, man. And it's like, but everyone would know, right? Everyone would know you've just crapped.
I think everyone does already know.
Yeah.
Like no one's excited by the concept of the Tom Clancy universe any longer, where it's just like it's just dudes with guns. That's not interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't think they've told a good enough Clancy-esque story, is there? There's no mystery or intrigue in them, and it's like, okay, the Division might be the closest they've come,
but those stories aren't for the people who play battle royales.
No,
there's no crossover in that market, really.
There really isn't. This seems ill-conceived,
as every battle royale for the last 2 years has been.
I mean, there's still there's that vampire one as well, isn't it? Like, isn't Vampire the Masquerade one of their games? Is it Bloodfall?
Yeah, maybe
something like that. Like, that's going to be a battle royale as well, but with vampire powers. So, like, I guess maybe that's got a slight twist. But Hyperscape's twist wasn't enough, so I don't think Bloodfall's twist is going to be enough. Just stop it with battle royales. Stop it. Too many people tried when it first became a thing, and it was a problem for them then. I don't know what makes you think now is any different.
Yeah, but Ubisoft that's just what they do. They they try to make things too late, like they did with ship battling, and like they came into that too late and it didn't happen.
I suppose you're right. Yeah.
What happened to that? Did they release that?
They cancelled that.
No, that got cancelled.
Oh, they cancelled it.
Well, no, it didn't get cancelled.
Well,
it's technically delayed indefinitely, so which means no one's working on it right now. Was it Skull and Bones? That was it.
Yeah.
Where they just took the Assassin's Creed 4 ship combat and made a game out of it.
That's right. Which in itself,
except they didn't.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
But they took too long to get to it.
Yeah. Mm. Because they saw other people doing it first, and they were like, "Oh shit, we should have done that. Oh shit, it's too late."
In fairness, not in terms of, if we're talking crowded marketplaces, not that much in that space actually ended up happening in the end.
Yeah, but that's because it's a crowded market space because it's a small market space. Not many people are that interested in naval battles.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, World of Battleships became a thing.
Sure, and that's not exact. Well, no, I guess that is quite naval. I was going to say it's less naval, but it is pretty naval.
It's most naval.
Do you know what I meant? Like,
it's the most naval.
It's not exactly the same kind of game as the concept of the Ubisoft one.
No, true.
It's verging slightly more towards the RTS side of things, but not really.
But not really, yeah. Well, World of Battleships, I guess, skews slightly closer to what I envisaged Dreadnought was. If you remember, I spoke about that quite a few times because it seemed like a cool concept in my head, like space battleship fighting team tactical sort of thing developed by Jaeger. I like Jaeger. Yeah, that thing kind of came to be nothing. So. And that's the news. Or is it?
Not quite. I mean,
there we go.
Kind of.
There we go.
Kind of.
Well, the October time is time to have Minecon, where we can get more news about things which aren't going to be in Minecraft for probably more than a goddamn year.
Yeah, I explicitly sort of skipped over any Minecon news because it's.
Well, I just found it funny because, like, as they've done for the past. I don't know how many Minecons they've done this at. There's the vote for what new mob is going to get in.
What does that mean? What do I mean by mob?
I mean enemy, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Well, they can be friendly, I guess, but NPC,
okay,
kind of. But like they have the big vote for like which one of these three are we going to make real and we're going to put in the game. But like they're having this thing, and the one that won last year, like the mountain goats, still isn't in.
Right.
It's like it's still an entire year's gone by. They still haven't managed to put in the last one.
Could they not license the mountain goat?
So yeah, But I mean, like the weird delays with 1.18 or whatever, where they split it in two because it was too big, and because I talked about this before, where it's like every time that this happens, where it's like it's been an entire year and they still haven't got the mountain goats in, it only continues to reinforce the weird perception that it seems like only about 2 people are working on Minecraft,
right.
Even though it's like $1 billion thing and it's owned by Microsoft. It's like, how is there so little actual functional things happening? I mean, they are making a lot of content in these patches, but it just seems like it's way slower than it should be.
Right. Because didn't they can the super duper graphics update, or did that end up getting sort of like just sort of patched in bits over time?
Yeah, I don't know what the full graphics update situation actually is, because obviously I don't pay attention to the real version of Minecraft or whatever.
Because I just remember them making a big deal of that and being all like, "Hey, look at what we're doing. We're adding sun rays. Yep. Look at all these sun rays.
We're adding the graphics mods that you already have on PC.
Yeah, and we're making it official." And then that kind of didn't happen. And then RTX came out instead.
Well, yeah, I guess if you can say that's instead, it's not really.
I mean,
it's not something everyone can have.
No, and is Minecraft RTX even in line with? Is it a graphics mode that's just in main Minecraft, or do you have to get the RTX
I think
version?
It's a separate version.
Yeah, which kind of sucks in itself.
Although that's not necessarily too bad for Minecraft, because there's a lot. Minecraft has launchers where you just toggle between the different types.
I mean, the JavaScript one.
Well, the Java one does especially, but
yeah.
that's more because you need to do that to be able to get the different versions for the mods.
Right. Yeah.
But here's the other bit of news that is related to this whole discussion. Because a few months ago there was an email sent out where they're basically getting rid of Mojang accounts because they're just going to be Microsoft accounts now.
Sure,
obviously
makes sense.
So if you have a Mojang account for Minecraft, now you just have to convert it or apply it to a Microsoft account, and that's where Minecraft goes. But they've now in this Minecon announced that when you do that, you now just get access to both versions.
Oh, nice.
So if you had Java Minecraft, now you do just get the other one.
Wow,
that's good.
That's pretty generous. What, I assume for PC?
Well, apparently, I mean they implied that it's just
if you code for wherever you want.
Well, they implied that it's for people who are doing that account upgrade. So, I mean, I guess that applies the other way as well, because at some point it would have been Mojang accounts on the Xbox version.
Sure.
So those people will also get Java.
Huh. I mean, that's good of them. I mean, it's because it was kind of awkward, right? If you'd already bought, like you, I suppose, bought Java edition.
Although there was that time period where they were just like, if you launch the Windows one now or whatever, you get it. There was that small window where they just gave you the Microsoft one.
Huh.
But obviously I didn't have the right version of Windows to be able to do that anyway, so
does it only run on 10?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I believe so. Or at least it does now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it did when they first did the get it for free period.
Huh. All right. I sort of didn't expect that anymore. Because games coming out now still mostly run on 7.
Well, it's getting less.
Yeah, well, because 7's out of support. It's it's a dead product now, but no one wants that hassle if they can avoid it.
But yeah, so that's the weird shit that's going on with Minecraft, where there continues to appear to not be enough people working on it somehow. And then the only other bit, well, there's a bit of news about a game I've been playing, which we'll get to in a minute or two, I'm sure. But the only other bit of, not really news, but just a random thing I saw on YouTube, which I thought was funny for us, is there's been a new discovery in Final Fantasy VII speedrunning that lets you skip Calm.
What?
You can skip the whole Nibelheim flashback.
Oh my gosh. That's a big skip.
Well, it's like 20 minutes technically, but
right.
It seems longer.
I guess if you're speedrunning it, yes.
But yeah, they've finally discovered a way around that.
You don't want to skip the Nibelheim flashback though, because other than the story about Mr. Dolphin, that's the most popular bit of Final Fantasy VII if our stats are to go by.
Except it's the exact opposite. It's because, like, as this video was pointing out about it, it's just like it's the exact worst thing for speedrunning, where it's just there's no gameplay. You're just pushing A to skip through text boxes for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Got to be frame perfect days. Though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, or you just hold down an auto key.
Oh, that's cheating, surely.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the rules are for that kind for like
having a controller that just auto fires every 60 times a second.
Yeah, I guess it probably is illegal for like the battle system, because you probably could just A your way through most of 537.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a weird skip where it's just like you have to get on the chocobo, which means you do have to go past Calm to get to the chocobo farm and then come back. And then you have to trick it into thinking that you're on the other side of the swamp, but not in the cave. Because you remember how you need the chocobo to get across the swamp, because there's that swamp monster thing that just kills you.
Yeah.
But if you go across the swamp, there's that tiny patch of land where the entrance to the cave is. And they thought about this in like the programming of the game, where if you get off the chocobo there, because at this point in the game, normally when you get off a chocobo, it just runs away.
Yeah.
But if it did that while you were there, you'd be stuck.
Yeah, so the chocobo stays.
So the chocobo stays. So first thing you have to do is trick the game to thinking that you're on the other side of the swamp when you're not, so that the chocobo will stay if you get off it.
Okay.
Then you run to this specific point on the map, which unloads the area. Well, no, it's far enough away from Calm that it will unload. So you go there, you get off the chocobo, which saves your position, essentially. You get back on the chocobo, you ride all the way back to Calm, you ride all the way back, so it unloads and reloads the area that you've saved your chocobo exit position. And then when you get off the chocobo, you just clip under the map, and then you just walk across the river.
Oh, wow. Weird.
So it actually skips not just Calm, I guess, but like a little bit more, because then you go into Junon and get straight to Mr. Dolphin, essentially.
Mr. Dolphin!
So it does kind of skip some of that. I don't know if this video didn't go into specifics about like how much you have to go back to pick up specific items or anything.
Right, yeah.
Because the thing is, going into the Mr. Dolphin sequence also allows you to get the PHS, because otherwise you don't get the PHS, because that's where you get it in Calm at the end of that sequence.
Oh, weird.
But weirdly, in a weirdly helpful coincidence, in the Mr. Dolphin sequence, Barrett takes away the PHS so it doesn't get wet. So it triggers the giving it to you again at the end of that sequence.
Huh.
It's like it's a very convenient fix to that whole speedrunning exploit that like somehow lines up really nicely.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
So there you go. That's the state of speedrunning Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, it's annoying, presumably, for all the speedrunners for a different reason, because it's like, well, balls all of the times are going to get blown out of the water.
Sure. I mean, I guess, like...
I mean, isn't speedrunning FF7's a weird one, right? Because, like, okay, surely... And I guess they're not really missing out on many levels by skipping Calm, right?
I mean, you can beat that game at, like, level 5 if you do it right. There's all kinds of weird glitches and tricks.
Because, it seems so... I guess playing it normally, the games like that always seem so... Like, your level seems so important, and it's like, well, how do you speedrun, like, a level 1? Like,
well, you can.
Huh.
I mean, this skip is more important for like the console version, because apparently the PC version is just all wrong warps. You could just break. The PC version is way more broken. You could just skip the entire game and it's like you're finished in like 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Whereas the console one is a little bit longer.
Huh. So the real PlayStation version.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
by PC version, do you mean like the original release PC version? Like,
I would assume so.
Or the remaster,
I bet,
quote unquote remaster they put out.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they did fix any of these kind of bugs. But yes, Final Fantasy VII definitely has a lot of what are basically like game state updates, where it's just like you just walk into this town and then you've entered this part of the game, and it doesn't really check whether you came from the previous part.
Whether you should or not. I mean, yeah, it's easy to happen, right?
Yeah.
Very easy to have been programmed that way. Because it's just easy.
Yeah.
Trigger script when here.
And that's more or less the news, apart from for the game that I've been playing. A bit. Do you want to announce that that's what we're about to talk about?
What are we about to talk about, Zach?
What I've been playing in this last 2 weeks Except not exactly, because I've been playing a little bit of Satisfactory because they've been talking about the next update 5 it's called.
Update? I mean, not
it's
out.
Not, yeah,
it's still not out.
It's update 5 of early access.
Okay.
But yeah, they've been talking about that. So I've been playing it a bit, but not that much. And in some ways I was like, because I had been playing it earlier this year, I guess. And I was like, well, maybe I should go back into that and like get ready for update 5 or whatever. Because the thing is, at this point, the updates are focused on like kind of the later end of the game, obviously, because they're done with the content in the earlier parts of the game. So it's like, could I just get this saved to a point where I'll actually be able to see it if this new stuff? But yeah, so I've been playing that a little bit. But the thing that I wanted to say about what they're talking about update 5, apart from it just generally having more stuff, although not really functional stuff, it's more like decorative stuff, which is kind of nice because, as I said, even back in the alpha, it's like you can make these giant ugly looking sheds out of these 2 different types of walls that you have. But now you have more. But yeah, they're doing an update as part of update 5 that does a lot of like quite ridiculous quality of life things, which is really nice. It's one of those kinds of things where you look at it and you're like, this is how game development should be. They're just making it just like better. I
can see it being a challenge though in factory games though, right? Because we've talked about this before. There must be a careful balancing act to walk between making things easy versus making it still be sort of a game.
Well, I mean, the thing is that like Satisfactory always had like it didn't really care very much about certain things. Like you could always just clip conveyor belts for each other and it didn't care.
Right.
Because that would be probably really difficult to detect 3D, with their like weird spline system or whatever. That would probably just be a big hassle. So it never really bothered checking if conveyors clipped. But now they're sort of they've previously
what about the stuff on the conveyors that they didn't just physics off the side?
No, the stuff on the conveyors doesn't have physics. It's just an image, essentially. But they previously announced in one of the other Update 5 videos that they're basically allowing you to clip anything through anything, pretty much. I think I already talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
The idea of like soft and hard clipping, where like buildings can't clip into each other, but conveyor belts can clip through everything, essentially.
Huh.
So they're kind of freeing that up even more.
I mean, even walls?
Well, yeah, basically, because, I mean, the walls barely even exist in that game anyway. Huh. In some ways. And it's not like anything has physics. You can build everything on a floating platform if you want.
I mean, that seems kind of weird.
It's kind of weird, but it's like, again, you're making the game about the literal like numbers game of the factory, not about constructing it so much, because it's already quite inconvenient to construct the whole thing in 3D. They're just like freeing it up slightly more. Because there are situations, even if you're not doing something completely ridiculous, like clipping conveyor belts through each other or through buildings, there are the occasional things that you'll notice where it's just like, this is slightly awkward. Like when you're doing a curved conveyor around the corner of a building, it can't clip through the very corner because it sticks out into the inner curve of the conveyor belt, if you see what I mean.
Right.
If you're doing a 90-degree corner.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then there's the basic constructor. If you put it on a foundation, because the foundation sort of locks you onto a grid, kind of, and you'll build the constructor and you'll put one down, and you'll be like, oh look, this fits nicely inside the width of one foundation. So if I build another foundation next to it and put another constructor, they line up, and it's like, oh, that's nice. But then at the edge of that, on the edge of the foundation with the constructor on it, normally you'd be able to put a wall on the edge of the foundation, but the constructor clips and prevents the wall from being built there. And it's super annoying. So instead you have to build like the constructors on the middle of 2 foundations and have everything offset by half a square or whatever. So now you'll probably just be able to build the wall and it'll be fine.
It's like I just worry about the visual more than anything. It's like things are clipping through things.
Yeah, but it's a matter of like how much you care. It's just like,
I guess
if you want it to look nice, then do it properly. And if you don't care, just make a giant spaghetti fest, as people do.
I kind of thought like the developer might want it to look nice, though, for screenshots.
Well, I mean, they can make their screenshots look nice, as they do in their videos, I guess. And then the other thing the other quality of life things that are being introduced is, well, first they're making a lot more snapping happen. So, like, when you're building a pipeline and you're building a pipe junction, that will actually snap to a line with the ports on the buildings.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas before you had to like eyeball it if you wanted it to try and be straight, which was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And the same applies for like conveyor belts with splitters. They will line up to the conveyor ports on the buildings, and like buildings conveyor ports will line up with each other.
Okay. Makes sense.
They kind of already did, but not fully. So now it's much more easy to do. And then there's the thing that they call zooping.
Sorry, zooping?
Yep. You got the zoop things, which
wasn't the Super Genesis era puzzle game?
Yes, it was. But it's basically drag building. Like you just drag a line of foundations out. You can only do 10 at a time, whereas there's mods that let you do like an entire plane simultaneously. So it's the semi-legitimate version of those mods being integrated into the base game.
So what is it? Wait, what does it do? I'm confused.
You draw a line out, like drag a line of foundations in a row instead of having to place each one individually.
Oh,
so it makes building big things much quicker.
Yeah, okay. Like road building in SimCity kind of thing.
Yeah,
like they just draw lines.
Yeah. But
zooping?
Yes, but it applies to like all the foundations and the walls and like fences and like stackable conveyor poles. So if you want to build a big stack of conveyors, right. You can just zoop. But why only like in a line? Why not the plane? It is the plane. I mean, it's a line in 3D. That's what I'm talking about.
No, but I mean like,
the axis.
but right. But if I wanted to make a square,
two-dimensional, right? Yeah. Yes. I don't know why they didn't implement that themselves. I don't like the 10 item limit that they have seems like real low. So if for some reason they decided 10 items was the limit, then doing a 2-dimensional square wouldn't actually be good. That'd be like 3x3.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a mod that does basically the same thing but much bigger, where you can just... It's a little more difficult to use, because obviously in the official one, it will just be like click and drag, and you just make a line. Whereas in the mod, it's like you have to click the starting square and then like scroll wheel the 2 dimensions outwards.
Okay, yeah.
So it's more powerful, but slightly more complicated.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe there's some technical reason why they're limiting it, but then if the mod can do it, like...
I mean, maybe they're just...
Is this one of those arguments where it's like, we're trying to game this a little bit, and so we're pulling back a little bit here, but...
putting
like,
some restrictions on.
But that one seems arbitrary.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe this is just a case of it being like, this is their first implementation, and eventually it will just become better. Like a lot of these little mini quality of life things.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how people use it.
Yeah.
Waluigi does customer service.
But a lot of this, it seems like update 5 is mainly stuff like that. All the quality of life things, not really so much content. There is a little bit, and as I said, there's aesthetic content. They're even doing a slight map update in some areas, which will
really
screw people somewhat.
What happens if they load their world and it's moved?
Well, there's 2 different things that are specifically coming in Update 5 that might screw you in on that front. Is like they're doing a map update into one part of the map, but supposedly it's only really going to update like the trees and plants, not the actual like terrain geometry.
Okay.
So you might suddenly have a bunch of trees sticking through your factory, but then you can just go cut them down and it's fine.
Right, that's all right.
But then the other thing, which is slightly going to screw people more, is they're now implementing train collision, because before they just phase through each other. But now they can glide. So if you load your factory and suddenly all your trains derail, then yes, that might be slightly awkward.
No, that, although that sounds like a positive improvement. That should probably be there.
Well, sure.
Unless you want to go full on like Railroad Tycoon. But...
I mean, yeah. I think the main reason why it seems more awkward is just that they also didn't have the options to control the trains as well, which they're also implementing now.
Right, signalling and stuff.
Yeah, proper signalling and like conditional loading at stations and that kind of thing, so you can more easily operate the trains.
Cool.
They're even updating the vehicle pathfinding thing to work slightly better, except for some reason they don't seem to be implementing like conditional loading on vehicles, which it would make those more useful.
I know I'd be terrible at it, but a bit of me kind of wants someone to come up with something that a way of making these games mildly competitive that isn't the way OTT does it, the way that Open Transport Tycoon does it.
I mean, the only other way is to make it a speed run, right? It's a race to who can make the most complicated thing fastest.
Which is pretty much what all the OTT is, right? It's like who builds fastest wins.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there is a marginal amount of like the markets, kind of, but it's not very much in Open Transport Tycoon.
No, I mean, you can tweak that so it is extreme.
Yeah. And also, well, no, I guess it is the same of just like you have to know how it works to be able to do it as efficiently as possible. Yeah. But that's just what those games are.
Which is sometimes kind of the problem.
Yeah. So that's more or less all I played of Satisfactory. Just a little bit getting back into my factory and being like, what the hell was I even doing? And it's a new save again. I mean, I think I started this one earlier this year, so I'd only got to like the steel phase. I've never actually built a train in Satisfactory, so all these train updates are not even things that I'm especially knowledgeable about.
Right.
I've got to the point of being able to build trains because it's like the last part of the steel phase, which is like tier 6 or something out of 8. So I've had the ability to build them. I've just never had a reason to, essentially.
Yeah.
Mainly because by that point in the game, scaling everything up so much just takes so fucking long.
Sure. I kind of. Are you getting a bit of the like early accesses with it, and that it's like
because you don't want to do anything that they might update.
Well, yeah, or more to or the other side of it. It's like they seem to be making good progress. I'm happy to wait.
Well. Kind of. And also, I'd like to go back to multiplayer, and none of these updates have had any adjustments to the multiplayer, which has always been quite a jank.
Right.
So as soon as they get like dedicated servers and just make the multiplayer work better,
that
would be a thing that I'm sure we'll go back to.
Yeah, I can see that being a big draw.
Because that will make it much quicker to build things when you have at least 2 people working on it. Someone can go across the other side of the map and build a train station. And that would make sense. Ship the resources to where you want them. So that's that. I've also been playing Dyson Sphere Program still.
Of course.
Grinding away at the achievements. Significantly slower, of course, after the initial burst, where you're just like, all these... But even though I did start a new game, it's like you get a shit ton of them quite quickly right at the start. And of course, all the ones that are like the fail states, where it's like you do them all right at the start as well, because it's quite easy to set those up. But yeah, I'm now in the sort of... I've just got to the point of starting to think about building the Dyson Sphere again, and I'm like, yep, now I'm getting into the slower part. Mainly because I'm at the point where I'm just like, now I need to design these whole bases. At this point, I should probably have a lot more of this blueprinted.
Right. Does Dyson Sphere support Dyson Sphere? I did it again, didn't I? Dyson Sphere.
The Dyson Sphere.
The Dyson Sphere. Does it have a blueprinting system then?
Yeah, they put that in like the last patch. It's a little bit awkward because unlike Factorio's one, it doesn't let you overlap things that already exist. Because in Factorio, if you have a blueprint, well, if you say you make like sequential blueprints where you're like you build the low tech version and then you have a blueprint that like upgrades it later with new belts and stuff, you can do that in Factorio, but you can't in Dyson Sphere. Like if there's anything overlapping at all, even if it's literally the same building in the same place, it doesn't allow it to build that blueprint.
Factorio one sounds kind of cool. It's like I don't know if I've heard of that.
Yeah, but I mean that's why I always said at the time where it's just like all these other games that had started implementing blueprints. It's like, but Factorio has got you beat forever because it's just the best.
Yeah, that's neat.
But then of course that leads to the other like flip side of that where it can be a bit too easy in Factorio to become like fully blueprint reliant, where you just don't really even play the game. You just paste down blueprints on top of other blueprints, and it just builds the whole base for you. You sort
of made the game into a clicker.
Well, yeah, like once you've solved that problem once and made the blueprint for it, then you're never going to do that again. And then some people get way too like deep into that, where it's just everything is just blueprints.
Does Factorio need like a Zachtronic style ranking system? So like number of cycles, length of belt, or stuff like that. So there are ways of like having like puzzly problems solved with different score metrics.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are like there are those weird, like, extra mode things in Factorio, like the weird belt puzzles and whatnot, but they're not, like, fully featured or anything. They're just little one-off, like, mini games almost. But yeah, so Dyson Sphere doesn't let you paste blueprints that overlap at all. And obviously, because it's a sphere grid, you've got this whole situation of like different sized grids. Like sometimes blueprints won't work in one place, but will work in the other because the grid size is different, so the buildings are slightly closer together. And obviously, they can't overlap where the grid size changes because that fucks it all up. So it is a little bit limited, but I haven't really used the blueprints as much as I probably should at this point because I have built the same thing a lot. When you build a line of smelters, it's just like it's 30 smelters in 2 lines of 15 because that fills a belt perfectly, and it's just like I've built that so many times that should probably just be a blueprint for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I've reached the point in this save again where I've moved my entire like science operation, like the research tree, the research cubes. Basically, I've moved that all onto a different planet. And it's like
you couldn't make that sound any more sciencey.
Yeah,
research cubes.
So I've moved that, and on that planet I've also built like the on the one of the poles I built the restock zone where it just makes all the buildings and whatnot, so I can just go there to pick up more buildings to build with. So that's all done. But now I've moved to the other star system with the tidally locked planet, and now I'm starting to work on the Dyson Sphere making planets, basically. The rocket launching planet and the solar sail launching planet, which may or may not be the same planet. I haven't decided yet. But then
you better plan it.
Yeah. Planet with some blueprints. But yeah, I've started. The thing is, with the research cube area, and now with this rocket thing, I am trying to think more about a blueprint, except it's going to be one very big blueprint. Like, I've made the whole research cube area on this planet. It makes 120 cubes per second of each type, so it's even.
Oh, you're actually making cubes.
Yes.
Okay. The Rubik's cubes of science.
Pretty much. They float around inside the Matrix lab.
Corvax convergence cubes, they're everywhere.
Yep. So I've made the whole thing, it's a self-contained thing that makes 120 cubes a second. So theoretically I can just blueprint the whole thing and just paste it down and double it. But it does take up like nearly an entire quarter of a hemisphere of this planet.
Right.
So it's going to be a very big blueprint, and you're not going to be able to duplicate it that much.
No, because you need a planet the same size, right?
I think the planets are kind of all the same size.
Oh, okay. So you could just have a whole planet blueprint.
Yeah. I think, at least a hemisphere. I think you can drag that box all the way down to the hemisphere from the pole and capture the whole side. So I can do that with the research planet. I can duplicate that potentially 4 times on this one planet. And then with the rockets, I'm trying to do the same thing, but like much more compact, where it's just going to be like a segment from the equator up to the pole that will make like half a rocket a minute or whatever. And then you can just copy that all the way around the planet, in theory, if I can get it to fit.
Or a rocket every 2 minutes.
That's where everything is by the minute.
I mean, not if you're making the same half a rocket every minute. That's no good.
And it's also not half, it's 0.4. But that's just it's a weirdly almost useful number, like the 0.4 that comes out, because I use the online calculator, of course, which actually they've just updated it to have it used to be the Factorio calculator, then it has Dyson Sphere, and they've just recently updated to have Satisfactory as well.
Okay.
So you can just toggle between these 3 different games that just use the same essential calculator design to work out all the ins and outs.
Do you want to get them mixed up though?
No. Well, that's kind of difficult to from all the weird icons, like Satisfactory's ones where it's like weird tiny JPEGs of 3D models. But yeah, so I put all the numbers in there for like, if I use exactly 1 belt's worth of iron to start with, which is like, the 30 smelters in a row, or 15 on each side, like 1 belt worth of iron, how many rockets can I make? And it's like, if you run it through, it turns out to come out to exactly 0.4, which is conveniently, because the rocket silos can only launch 5 per minute. So that's like...
I see.
Lines up quite nicely.
That works out, yeah.
Is that just coincidence, presumably?
Well, I mean, that might be intentional. I imagine that, well, I don't know. The timing element of it is probably intentional. Like the speed of production of a rocket is probably a multiple of how many rockets the silo can launch. But the material value being based on one belt's worth of iron, that is kind of a coincidence, I imagine. Because it's like there's quite a lot of steps in between raw iron and a rocket.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And I did start thinking about the speedrun achievements, but that is going to be a lot of blueprints. You're definitely going, because that 10-hour one is just kind of ridiculous. I was just even trying to consider how I would do that. You're definitely just going to need a full set of blueprints where you're just going to have to unlock the blueprints as soon as you possibly can and just go wham, 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 just chuck them down all over the place. Don't waste any time. No manual crafting, ideally. As soon as you can do that,
right,
you will have that blueprint like I have at the pole that makes everything, and just put that down and just have that make all the buildings for you. So you won't have to worry about that. Of course, my problem, which would be the thing that I'd have to restrain myself from in a speedrun, is I don't like to build over resource deposits again. It's just like Factorio.
Yeah, right.
It's a bit more...
You just got to do it.
It's a bit weirder in like Dyson Sphere because obviously the resource deposits are 3D. Like they get in the way of the buildings. Whereas because in Factorio you can just literally build on them and it doesn't matter. Whereas in Dyson Sphere they're these 3D models that clip, but you have the option to... You can use the foundation, which flattens the planet, to for getting rid of lakes or whatever. You can also there's a mode on that where you can toggle it to delete. Well, not delete. It hides the resource nodes, so you can pop them back up later if you want them. But you can otherwise just draw over them and it just gets rid of them. So you can do that, but then you're wasting those resources because you can't mine them. But I mean, when you're on a planet which has like 4 million coal and you're not even using coal for basically anything, might as well get rid of all those.
Doesn't really matter.
And it's not like I was about to say it's not like the resources are limited, but they technically are. But there's 64 star systems of multiple planets with resources on them. Probably not going to run out of anything that quickly.
Not by the time you could just, if you do run out, just fly to somewhere new and start mining that planet instead. I mean, on when I'm playing on this is another thing about the speedrun. The speedrun does say you have to do it on 1 times multiplier for the resources or less. I mean, why would you do it on less? You're obviously going to do it on 1. But I've been playing on 0.5, and my home planet had pretty much run out of resources by the time I'd moved the research center. So it is possible to exhaust planets on like the half resource level. Wait, so how does that work? If you speed up time because you don't need to do anything for a while, does it speed up the game clock that counts towards that?
You don't really speed up that game. It just runs.
It just runs. Okay. So you don't have like a 2x?
No. It's just this weird resource multiplier that I think it only applies to the numbers because the mining machines have a speed upgrade that you can research in the research tree. But that's not affected by the multiplier on the resource. That's literally just how many resources the deposit contains in total. So you're not going to be able to extract them any quicker. It's just that the deposits will last longer.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that.
DSP.
And then that was more or less it, apart from Rocket League. The traditional transition to Rob, if he has anything to say about Rocket League this week.
You just smooth over the transition to a bit of Rocket League that you've both been playing.
Yeah, I mean, not a huge amount. The Halloween thing's on, right? And it's
and it's Batman for some reason.
It's Batman. And it's more... I mean, it's more of a chance for them to sell all the old Batman gear again.
Yeah.
So all of the old Batmobiles are back. If you want to buy them. But then
it's not like there was any other way to get them before.
No.
The Batmobiles specifically.
I mean, that's true of most of the licensed aesthetic stuff. But there's a whole load of Batman themed items as well now. Yeah. Like player cards and boosts that laugh at you. And
only marginally less annoying than the witch one. I'm not sure. It's almost the same.
I mean, it was the bats one, wasn't it?
I mean, the Halloween.
Oh, right. That's it. Yeah,
it is bats, but it has a witch cackle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Whereas now it's trying to be more like Jokery, except not really.
Except it's not. It sounds very much like the Witch one.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think we had one of like the best set. I mean, been going through a lemon phase, and then I started playing with Zach in our duels. Not duels.
No,
is it? The
twos.
Doubles. Yeah. In twos, and we had one of the best sessions we ever had.
Oh, really?
I mean, it started off a little bit up down, but like we ended on quite a streak.
I guess.
Nice.
Champion, baby. Yeah. I'm a champion now.
Except now you have to earn the rewards.
I've got to earn those champion rewards properly this time.
Or semi-properly. Grind out the other wins in the extra modes.
Yeah, then come back into... yeah, because my... when I'm playing by myself, I tend to... Depending on what's up for the season rewards, I'll either play casual, which,
is a nightmare.
Marginally sucks, yeah.
Marginally sucks.
I mean, it's better than it used to be.
Right.
I somehow don't seem to be running into nearly as many quitters as I used to. So that's up. But yeah, no, my extra mode career has gone into the pooper. As much as I love drop shot, it's by far my worst rank at the moment. And I need to stop playing Rumble because it's like Rumble sucks. It seems so like harmless on the surface. It's just football with power ups. What can go wrong? And then you realize like the power ups just like are all that's like.
Well, and like
there's very little skill in that mode because like the power ups just turn the tide on a whim.
Well, and like Spike is the only one that matters.
Yeah,
really.
it's such a problem when someone gets that and you're like, oh no. Yeah. And also the Halloween mode is just Rumble. They've just changed some of the power-ups so they're a bit Batman themed.
Great.
So it's not worth your time.
No.
It's not worth it. But yeah, that's League. League's all right. I suppose in other multiplayer things I've been toying with, thanks to the Cambridge crew, despite my protestations against it, I have ended up playing Nerds several times.
Nerds.
Yeah, it's that. That's
How's that spelled?
Nerts.
Okay.
It's that card game that Zachtronics made.
Yeah.
Right.
That frequently makes me self-loathe.
That sounds so much fun.
We call it stress cards for a reason.
Stress cards.
And there's no other game that makes me feel so stupid. And half the time, it's not even my fault. Like Ian, who we play with, is just. He's some sort of solitaire savant. He just can rattle things off at a speed that is like no one can understand. It's unbelievable. And then I play it and I'm like, well, I can't do anything. My shuffle is so bad, I can't do anything. And that seems to happen to me like 9 times out of 10. I have a round where I cannot do anything. And it's so frustrating as other players are progressing. And it does that thing where, like, obviously if you do badly in a round, you get a negative score. So it's even worse. It's like I'm literally going backwards. And then the last time I played, I had like the best 3 rounds I'd ever played. I basically won 3 rounds. I nertsed 3 rounds in a row and was like, this is great. I'm on top of the world. This is the best I've ever played. And then was all negative for the rest of the evening. And it was just like I should have stopped. I didn't even need to finish that full game. Just play those 3 rounds and be like, all right, guys, I'm out. It's it's a thing. I don't know what I sort of want to play it now, which is problematic, given that I do legitimately quite hate it.
Oh dear,
because it's just I don't know. It's sadism. Anywho, and the other thing that the Cambridge crew dragged me into was Payday 2 briefly.
Right. Yeah.
Which on the surface seems like, it's quite popular. It's got a lot of content now. It's
got far too much content always.
Yeah, it's cheap. But holy hell, if you're like a noob like me coming into it, it's like that interface is just the UI for getting into the goddamn game and setting up your character is a horrific mess.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like it's impossible to tell how that game functions. Like I had to have them telling me like, okay, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. Oh, we're gonna have to do right, we want to do a stealth mission, but yeah, you don't because your character has persistence. You have to earn money in order to buy more weaponry, and then you have to buy for a stealth, for instance, you probably want guns with silencers on them and stuff like that, but you don't get any of those out at the start. So we needed to do a loud mission so I could earn the ability to buy some cheap silenced weapons, pistols mainly with silencers, and going to do those things. And it's just like, okay, we've got to go through all that. But then, just the systems at play. So I bought some SMGs that I thought were like, okay, these are like the MP5 equivalent type thing. Yeah. That seems kind of classic. I can akimbo these. Okay, that's rad. Can I get some silencers for them? And it has this thing where you can before you buy a gun, you can go to this thing called Mod Preview, and it then lets you see all the modifications you can get for a particular gun and what they'll do to the stats.
Right.
And it's like, so I had a look at the MP5s. It's like, yeah, it's got suppressors. Okay, great. I'll buy the MP5s, and I'll come into them. So I bought the MP5s, and then I go to the mod menu, and then it says, "Nah, you can't get those suppressors." And I'm like, why? You literally no, not even DLC. Not even DLC. It just says they're out of stock.
No.
So apparently,
they've run out.
So apparently,
I hate it when that happens.
Apparently, there's a rotating set of stuff in the store that so you can always buy. It seems like a weapon of any type, but the modifications for them are some kind of weird time-based rotation, so they're not always available to. And I couldn't tell that until I'd bought the damn gun. So it's because it didn't. The preview just says, yeah, you can get a mod like this for this gun. So then I had to go buy some other things. And at this point, it's like I'd spent a whole load of money on these MP5s. And it's just like, well, let me just buy some pistols. And then so I bought some pistols, and it's like, oh, thank heavens, they have some suppressors. I can actually use those. And then, but you have to go to the front of buying them. You have to go to another menu to apply the mods, and then you come back to the menu, and then it's in your weapon slot. But it's not necessarily assigned to your character yet. So you then have to go to your character menu, and then say, I climb this weapon spot to this character. And you can have multiple profiles of characters, each of them with different skill sets. There's a skill tree. And then you add, when you want to make masks to just customize your character, you've got to go to this other menu, your mask menu, and you assemble the mask first. And I don't know what that means. It's like I have to assemble the mask and then put it in a mask slot for that character, I think. And then that character can wear it. But I could put that mask back into the stash. So does that mean I could then use that mask on and this is just an aesthetic. It's like, why the hell am I having to worry about building a mask? And the building of the mask doesn't seem to be related to any kind of resource that I have. I could just build it. I have no idea what's going on. It's like, it is an absolute mind fuck of an interface.
Oh my god!
It's just like, why on earth is it designed this way? And then when you get into a game, it's kind of an average shooter, if I'm being perfectly honest about it, it's all right. It's got some. I mean, I appreciate the co-opness of it, which is why we play it. It's like, why those guys play it, because it's like, okay, we go into it. They like the planning of it. They like going into it. They like trying to be as teamworky as possible. So one player's putting down ammo crates, one player's being a doctor and putting down limited supplies. There's a way you can call in stuff mid-mission that I don't really understand either. And everyone, yeah, there's depth to it, but ultimately I didn't really feel like the shooting felt great. We were playing on hard mode, and it's like the first mission I played, we probably killed about 1,000 cops. Some ludicrously high number of infinitely spawning policemen. It's real stupid. It's really stupid. I kind of want to play more just to see how these mechanics, how they fathom out, if they fathom out, or if it is just a mess. But I kind of want to see. I have to know. It's one of those. I have to know.
Okay, wait and find out.
So Payday 2. And I guess the other multiplayer thing that Zach and I have been doing is we returned to Hyrule. In the form of Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors.
Age of Calamity.
Which was very much not as easy to get back into as I thought it was
going
to be.
I
thought we'd played that demo plenty, and I was like, oh yeah, we'll just run through the first mission again and get back into it. But it took quite a lot more than that first mission.
We're playing it in the hardest difficulty level as well, because that actually seems like the way to play it.
Yes, make it any challenge at all.
Yeah. But it's... Man... That game's a whole lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. It's it's Dynasty Warriors. It's stupid, but it's like
sure.
And it runs like crap on the Switch, but it's I love it. Like I think we're only a little way into it, but I think I unequivocally love this thing.
Wow, that's high praise.
It's such a laugh. Like even when we get stuck on like hard bits, like I actually kind of think that's great. I love it when Zach and I kind of get stuck on a difficult bit and we're trying to like muscle our way through it. It's like I think that sort of like, we'll just do this one. It's like when we were playing Halo Reach the other week, and we're just trying to get that one damn elite that runs away at the very start of the game. It's like, God damn it, we can do this. And it's like,
yeah, kind of more fun with two in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, all right, we'll just have to take a step back and say, like, okay, it looks like Breath of the Wild, but it's not quite it doesn't quite capture the aesthetic, right? Like the bits in the menu, the menus are nice, but it's like, okay, because it's having to do so much, the graphics can't keep up with the full Breath of the Wild look, but it's pretty close. Like resolution takes a huge dip, frame rate takes a massive dip. We're playing it in co-op, which makes everything that much worse.
Oh god,
the draw distance of enemies is tiny, like it's like maybe a few meters in front of you, like it's minuscule. And I don't care, because all you really need to be doing is like the draw distance is almost just enough for your range of attacks at times.
Like, as long as there's red dots on the map to swing and you're murder it.
But this is the thing: the movesets for all of the characters we've played so far are so satisfying. Like even I mean, Link's kind of the most basic, but he's also the easiest to get the grips with, and possibly the most flexible. Like his like rune moves make the most sense.
Yeah, they're not quite so weird. They're more like the runes you expect.
I mean, you're getting the bombs, and like instead of it just making one bomb you throw, he just suddenly gets like a whole slew of them, and it's like and he's just throwing bombs at people like rapid fire. And like even when he whips out the bow, it plays like he's firing the arrow so fast it makes a comedy sort of noise as he's firing arrows at people. And it's just cool. It's madness, and I love it. And like the last character we unlocked, we're not that far in, but we unlocked Mipha, and it's like her watery moveset is great fun. It's madness. It's like she has all these kind of like attacks that then create fountains on the floor, and you have a button dedicated to pop out of fountain. So wherever you are, as long as there's one of these fountains on the map that you've created with some other move, you just suddenly teleport to and burst out of this fountain into an aerial combo, and then do things that are almost certainly going to result in you creating another fountain on the ground. So you burst out of that and then do more combos, and it's
sweet.
Oh, it feels so good. And she's like, all the characters, like the way they like, no one really has the same set of like how the runes work either. It's like they're all slightly different.
Yeah,
like
except for maybe like stasis. There's kind of not much you can do.
Yeah,
with
stasis is kind of dull. Stasis is the one you probably end up using the least, and like
and magnesis, because it's kind of difficult to work out what that's even for. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the thing like with magnesis where you pick up a box and just swing it around in front of you, and it will hurt everything around you. Or you can use it to like if someone's got a metal weapon.
Well, yeah, if it's one of those specific big enemies that has a magnesable attack.
Yeah, you can pick it out of the air with magnesis and throw it back to them.
Cool,
which is cool. But the bomb power up is where it's at, right? The bomb rune is hilarious, like for everyone. It's like, okay, so Link's throwing like a whole salvo of bombs that just appear in his hand. You've got Zelda turning into like a bomb tank, and just driving this insane tank around the field with other bombs spewing from it.
Oh man!
And even just one of her standard combos, because Zelda, like her only attacks are effectively rune powers. Yeah. Like even one of her standard attacks is just to roll this massive ass bomb down a hill at people. And Mipha's just summers a rain of bombs. There are so many bombs that come from the sky.
That's one of the ones that definitely hurts the frame rate quite a lot.
Oh boy, does it! Yeah. It's so insane, and it's so much fun.
That sounds great.
It's like, even though it doesn't really, like, we played it for hours and it didn't, the action really doesn't really change.
Not yet. You didn't really get that far.
That's the thing. The missions are quite long. Like
if you get stuck, they get longer.
Yeah, they take a while to get through, and it's like, man, it's just like, I'm already so happy with like the 5 odd characters we have right now, and it's like we know there's at least another 3 we haven't got, and it's
the rest of the champions.
Oh man, it's exciting. It's exciting discovering what other and the movesets expand as well. Like they're not fixed. Like you can level up, and gain more parts of the combos.
Seems like at least 1 each. Don't know if there's.
I think we've seen it where it's one of those like combo systems where like X is your light attack and Y is like a heavy finisher,
and they branch at each point.
Yeah, so the number of X's you press followed by Y will result in a different finisher, and it seems like you can increase both the X chain and then every now and then add another Y to the end of it, in the various points, and it's like so. It's hard to tell like how far that list goes up, but it looks like it could be a reasonable way.
Well, yeah, I guess we haven't really seen. We haven't seen more than one of those upgrades per character yet. If there is more than one, basically, we had Link and he gets 1 more. We had Zelda and he gets 1 more. But like, is there going to be another one of those later on in the like side missions where you just get more?
Sure. Yeah, I bet there will be more. I hope there will be more.
Well, I hope there is for Zelda at least, because her tree is real tiny.
Yeah,
it's kind of a shame.
And Link has the sort of weird, odd one out character because his moveset is probably the most basic in terms of flashiness, but he gets to have different weapon types,
and he gets the charge thing, which like modifies the heavy attack as well.
Oh yeah,
where you can hold and release to get like another heavy attack. Essentially,
you can chain some of them together. Which is basically the spin attack, isn't it? But then you get a bigger spin attack if you manage to time it right and get a second one in.
But we haven't seen Link's other weapon sets yet. We've only ever had one-handed.
No, I don't know if we've got any double-handed. We've got like we can use like a comedy spoon, I think, but we haven't tried equiping.
That's the only one-handed.
Yeah. Don't know how much that necessarily changes the whole move set, really, or if it's just.
I don't think that will. No. I think that's just weapon stats.
But that's the other thing. There's quite a lot. The weapon system. There's quite a lot going on outside of the main combat as well. Like it uses the Breath of the Wild map as kind of a hub, and it's like this is where like a lot of the style is most Breath of the Wild in a way, because the menu all sounds and feels like it's running on the Sheikah slate and stuff. They've done a decent job of replicating everything. But the weapon system is basically like feed swords to swords kind of system, where it's like you have one. If there's a sword that you like, you could feed all the other swords that you have to it, and it has a system by which you can impart bonus traits on those swords, and they level up to a certain point, and as they level up, you then unlock more slots for other traits, and it probably seems like you could probably grind that for ages.
Yeah,
like not just to level up. Leveling up one doesn't sound like it would seem too long, but if you then want to like grind up different stat sets, potentially, that could take a while. And obviously with Link, you're doing it multiple times for the different weapon types.
Yeah, whereas with Zelda, it's just the Sheikah slate, and you only really need one of those.
Yeah, and it seemed like the others. Was it maybe Mipha might have different tridents, but they don't really change her.
Yeah, it's just
fight style
looking, I expect.
Yeah, whereas all of Impa's seem like they've been the same so far.
The exact same sword.
Yeah,
which is slightly weird. I was expecting that maybe maybe every character would have at least one alternate.
Maybe, yeah.
But I guess if you want, if you want to keep the fighting style, I don't mean. It would be a lot more work, basically. If they did it for Link, where he could have these different handedness fighting styles, but to do that for every character would maybe be a lot more work. Maybe just having a different character is enough.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they are all. I mean, none of them fight the same so far.
No,
they are significantly different. I think that was one of my problems when I was like, because I was weighing up whether we should start with the original Hyrule Warriors,
right? Yeah,
and then come into Age of Calamity, because it sounds like the original Hyrule Warriors is still a decent game. It's a Muso. It's still one of these, but but it doesn't seem like it's a particular. It's a good one of those. But then I sort of looked at the movesets of that game, and it's like, well, and because it's missing the rune system and things like that, the movesets for each character don't seem quite so varied and quite so mad. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but no. Why am I coming into Age? Why was I so like in the back of my mind like I need to play this game? And it's like, yeah, because the movesets are mad, and it's like, so let's just go full mad. Let's go right into it. And it's like, yeah, I wish it ran better. And apparently, like the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on Switch runs pretty well, because I guess it's it was a 3DS game originally, and then they redid it for Wii U, and then redid it again for Switch. So, you know, it's come a ways. So it's like, yeah, it apparently runs pretty good. But yeah, Age of Calamity is having to deal with the Breath of the Wild graphics, which, you know, were only really designed to just about manage 30 on the Switch originally. And now we're throwing like thousands of enemies at it at once. So of course it's going to struggle.
I think we can safely say next time you do one of the Divine Beast parts, turn off motion control.
Oh yeah, the motion control sucked.
That might have been because of the frame rate, possibly.
Maybe
they just
really were not responsive. It's like Splatoon, it was not.
No.
So yeah, you're right. I think I'll turn those off completely. But yeah, that's not a secret. You get at certain parts of the story, you just get to have a little sequence where you get to control a Divine Beast and just blow everything up.
See what they were actually made for, in theory.
Yeah. It's madness. I love it. Yeah. I'm so excited to play more. I'm holding back. That's the thing. I'm not playing it. I haven't played it solo yet. So it's like, it's just one of those games where it's like, no, I can't. I just can't. I'll burn myself out, I think, if I did too much solo. But playing it this way is great. What a game. Yeah, what else have I been doing? So I finished 2 games, and I'll let you pick which one I talk about first. So there was Sable and The Artful Escape, both of which I have completed.
Well, we talked about Sable last time. Do you want to wrap that up?
We did. Yeah, so Sable actually patched in between last time I talked about it and now, because one of the biggest issues I had with it is just how poorly it runs. Even on a Series X, it didn't run great, and it has a litany of bugs about it that are distracting from what is a fairly zen-like open world design. It's about relaxation. It's about getting to places. It's not about conflict. It's about having a nice time and finding yourself in this desolate desert planet. But the bugs are just like, oh, no, really? Okay. I'm going to have to quit out of the game now because this annoying bit of music is stuck on and has been playing for the last half hour and isn't going away. I need to quit out and rejig this. Or certain things haven't spawned in the right place, or the frame rate has just become atrocious that I can't play it anymore. Turns out, I think the trick is, if you're playing on Xbox, don't suspend the game. Things seem better if you like clean launch it every time.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is just restarting the game, though.
Yeah, but because Xbox naturally suspends everything, right? Like, it's not quick resume. So if you played anything else in between, you'd lose your suspended state. If you shut the console down and then next time you launched it up, came back into it, you're just launching it, the suspended version, right? And I don't think it likes that very much. I think over time the performance of me launching it this way was what was causing it to get so bad. So I started clean launching it, and I think it was better.
But then it patched as well.
And I think that makes a tiny difference. There are definitely some areas that were still ropey, but I think there were more areas that were better, if that makes sense. Like it definitely isn't a panacea for all of that game's problems, technically, but it did clear up a couple of things. But this isn't to say I had a bad time with it. It's like, yeah, distracting problems aside, it's I still ended up pretty much 100%ing it. Pretty much. Yeah. I didn't get all the achievements, but I did most of I did every quest in the game. I did all of them. There's one that's basically a Korok seed hunting thing. It's like there's no like fancy puzzles with them, but it's a bit like Age of Calamity's implementation. You just like have to find them.
Right.
There's these little worms that are basically like stashed around the environment, and I would recommend engaging with that system because that's how you improve your stamina bar. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So you need. I would engage with finding the chum worms, and finding where to deliver them to. But yeah, I didn't achieve all of what I needed to for that because I think I needed like another 13 across the entire map, and at that point I was just like, well, these could be anywhere. I can't be faffed to just drive around and try and find the awkward spots of level where these could possibly be. I did end up finding one bit of map that I hadn't been to, and there was a secret achievement attached to that, and that was kind of one of the weirdest bits of the game. So it's like, oh well, at least I discovered that last before finishing this thing. But yeah, I wish I it's one of those games where it's like I appreciate what it's trying to do. It's the open world formula distilled to about as pure as form as you can get.
Yeah.
And therefore it's just hitting all the centers that make those games work, I guess. It's like you're like unless combat's a real thing for you, in which case that you're not going to find that here. But if you're just after that end of day, drift around, check things off a list, go and see things. This kind of does that, and it does that in a very stylish looking way and a very interesting sounding way.
Yeah.
But go into it knowing that it needs a bit more polish. It's not that polished. It's
at least they're patching some things about
it.
But yeah.
I mean, it was mildly annoying that like there was another like proper Japanese breakfast like end theme. I know all the music's done by Japanese breakfast, but it's like there's like a special piece that's been written for the end credits, and the credits weren't long enough, so the music just cut off, and it's like I was enjoying that.
No, that's annoying.
Yeah, I know.
It's like when you just bent down to pick that flower.
Yeah, absolutely. And I missed that whole sequence. It's like the credit sequence just wasn't as long for the bit of music they'd picked for it, and that's the only time that bit of music was playing. Yeah, shame. It's a shame it's not quite as good as it could be. Yeah, so there's that.
And Artful Escape.
Artful Escape. Artful Escape is, I think, more successful at what it's trying to do. So I again touched on this last time. It's it's the weird. I just struggle to describe this. It's like a weird sci-fi rock opera presented as like a 2D side scroller, and it's a bit of a trip the entire time.
Okay.
Like if you like your weird, I guess it's one big guitar solo. Really, is what it's like wailing guitar solo is what this game is. And it's I think it does what it does that very well indeed. It is the audio design is hugely it's strong all the way through. It's like the style doesn't necessarily change of what you're hearing particularly. You might get a slightly different key, or you might get a slightly different, but the way your guitar sounds is always the same. And most of the game, you're holding X to wail, and it's just. I mean, in the options, it's called the shred button. So you're just,
it's the wailing on the people.
There's this ridiculous, echoey, epic guitar solo playing the entire time, and it's. But it's well made. That's what I mean. There's like that soundscape is very well defined. I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of story to it, like particularly, and I wouldn't say like that's necessarily very deep. It's a tale of an artist following in the footsteps of his uncle, who was a folk legend, and he's kind of expected to potentially be the same thing. It's kind of like, oh, you're the nephew of the famous Johnson Vendetti. Clearly, you're destined to be a folk star as well. And he's like, no, I'm not sure I want to be. So the story is him like finding his feet in this bizarre sci-fi world of as he himself describes, nonsense. And that's kind of all you really need to know. Like, weird stuff happens. There are bits of it where the visual design is just so out there and just so weird and so well put together, where it's like there's a sequence that plays whenever you go to a new place, and it's basically like a sudden montage of weird things happening to Francis, and just cuts, and there's a bit of a fisheye lens, there's a bit where you're like falling into trees, there's a kaleidoscope, and then there's a sound effect from the games factory, and then
of course,
and then there's just a spinning volume knob that just seems to go up forever, and it's and then your eyes are burning, and then and it's just, you get that sequence like 5 or 6 times throughout the course of the game, and it's cool every single damn time. And that's kind of the thing with this game. It's like it's you're just along for the ride. It's not really a game, like, honestly. It's an interactive experience, but like you're running to the right and jumping over a few holes from time to time while cool stuff happens in the background and around you because you're wailing this space guitar. And it's there's lasers, and there's light shows, and there's Mark Strong as a talent scout, and there's and there's, as I mentioned before, Lena Headey as the taste maker, and like she's in it, and Schwartzman's in it, and it's like it's a great cast, and the voice work is fantastic, and a strangely large amount of Cockneys in places.
Full of Cockneys.
And it's just a ride. It's like it's funny on occasion. There are some decent jokes here and there. There are some. It's sort of, the weirdness pervades everything about this. Not a lot of it makes a huge amount of sense, and it's fine because some of that nonsense is hilarious. Like, it's sort of Vic and Bob level madness in places. I really enjoyed it. I think it's short. Like, it's like 3, maybe somewhere in the 3 to 5 hour region. And like I said, it's not a challenge. You're just seeing what it does.
But it's plenty artful.
It's very artful. Most art.
You do a
classic.
You do a bit of artful dodging, but otherwise,
maybe a little.
Basically,
I mean, arguably the most challenging thing about the game, other than picking what outfit you're going to wear, is always
a challenge.
Is like, it has this sort of Simon Says style, like, call and response game that you're put through every now and then, where 5 buttons on the controller, the musical key as it calls it, you'll see the symbols pop up in a sequence, and you basically just have to play that back, and memorize it or play as they go. It's very like, timing doesn't matter. It's not like a rhythm game. You just have to play the sequence of notes back, and there's no failure state. If you get it wrong, it'll just ask you to do it again. So it's not harsh. It's and there are, like, most of these sequences always end in, like, it will just suggest a single button for you to press, and pressing that button starts a massive chord to finish the sequence. So it's like, bow, bow, ba 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 ba, that kind of stuff. And it's like, and every time you do that, there's a massive light show to go alongside it. And it's although I did miss the achievement for jamming with a snowman. I don't know where that was. Yeah, it's fun. If you've got Game Pass, as usual, you've got no excuse. Play this. It's worth a go. It's got a weird look to it. Like, I really thought it was by, like I mentioned last week, I really thought it was by Night School, the After Party and Oxenfree guys. It looks a bit like that, but not quite. It's like the world design and the animation is fantastic in places. Like, it's really lovely. But all the characters are sort of like animated as if they were 2D. They're actually big, modelled in 3D, but they sort of, the way they stand, they always sort of facing the camera, that kind of look. And then they animate a little bit like a Flash game with their arms like flailing around, that kind of thing. But it's like, it's all intentional, and it's actually all modelled, and it's an interesting look for sure. Yeah, quite up on it. It was fun.
Bon.
Artful Escape. I reckon I'll stop there. I have started playing Scarlet Nexus, which is Bandai Namco character action game. Very anime. Very anime. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it quite yet. It's like the core combat seems like it might be good, but the dodging seems terrible. Which I think is probably the thing that most character action games get wrong.
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those games where I felt like I was doing okay. All right, let's just do this. Let's get into it. So it's like it reminds me a little bit of like it's got a little bit of that Raz F1 feel going on, where it's like okay, but without the mechs, and that it's like it's a city that's like isolated from everything, and there's like an extinction layer or something that surrounds the city, and it's like, but there are these weird creatures that come in through the layer every now and then called the Others, that are like bouquets wearing corsets. They have like the enemy design is all like things that have been thrown out from the back of a fashion store, like bits of mannequin, and it's really odd. Like the enemy design's actually kind of cool, but this city is all kind of grey and grungy, but it's all like the energy source, like, and the way electricity and stuff connects together creates these red lines everywhere that they just refer to as the neon. But the neon is like, it's like an imaginary thing that people can see. It's like the terminology is weird in this game. Like doesn't it seems to try and do exposition in places, but it never really makes any sense. So it's I don't know. It looks cool though. Like the neon wires, the red neon wires everywhere look cool, and the wires are, when you enter an area that's kind of like disrepaired or has been destroyed or evacuated, like the wires are shattered in a cool sort of like hovering hologram kind of look in places, and it's I really do like how this game looks. It's like it's neat. But there's like holograms everywhere in a sort of like, they call them the visuals, and I think these are all like, because everyone in this world is like slightly psychic or psionic or something like that they can see them because they've all got these powers that lets them see these things. So the technology has been built upon all of this, people's ability to see these fake imagery, or they call them the visuals. And it's and everyone has some kind of latent psychic power, which if you join this agency, they will unlock from you with these cables, or these red cables that attach to your back that they call the SAS, which stands for something really stupid that I can't remember. And it's a really weird and interesting setup that is horrendously spoiled by the appalling dialogue. It is really bad.
Oh dear!
Like, as I said, like these people that have known each other for several years will be walking around the city going, "Man, I love this city. Yeah, it was built several years ago to do this." Like, why would you do exposition to each other if you've known each other for so long? Like,
yeah. And
like the character interactions feel really like stunted and like strange. They'll be like, "Huh." What, like, sort of like, I don't know if it's just poor anime translation. Like they'll say a thing, and then I'll be like, "Huh? Are you some kind of idiot?" And then the other person will go, "What? Why would you say that to me? Huh?" No, like almost like there's periods where almost every sentence is like begun with like an AK-47 style. Like they might as well have just said surprised exclamation. Like, but it's like, huh?
Right.
What? Like, I don't know. Like it seems bad. But the thing is, maybe it works better if I'm playing with the Japanese audio, which I'm not. For once, I've decided to play with the English audio, because it's one of those games where people talk at you in the middle of you doing a fight, and there's like might be a little bit of subtitles going on in the corner of the screen, and it's like I probably actually want to be able to hear this and focus on the fight, so I'm going to play it in English mode.
That has been a problem in Age of Calamity as well.
Yeah.
Because there's there's no voices, of course, it's just a dialogue box, which is not in the middle of the screen at all, obviously, because you want to be able to see what the fuck you're doing. But then you're not even ever seeing like the mission objectives or anything, because it's just like, it's someone talking in the corner.
But it is sometimes hilarious, like, because they're like they do the voice clip thing in Age of Calamity, right? But it's like the soldiers ones are always so weird, like, sure, or, oh, right. It's like they just sound really odd.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sort of enjoying the combat with this thing. It's got like with Scarlet Nexus. It's okay. It's it's sort of trying to do the Persona thing where it wants you to talk to people and build up your bond, and that improves the powers when you synergize with them in the middle of a fight and things like that. But those, as I said, the dialogue kind of draws all that down. I'm getting Demon Ex Machina vibes out of it, that kind of thing, where it's like although it has a lot of similar layout and like the way conversations can happen. So everything is brain this and brain that, and so you have brain messages, which is like a text system in your mind, and everyone talks to each other. They don't have to be next to like actual talk physically, so they brain talk to everyone.
Brain talking.
That's what it's called, brain talking. And then when you level up, you earn brain points, and you use those on the brain map to skill up. And it's really stupid. It's really stupid. But my biggest problem with I was kind of okay with all of this dumbness, like right up until the last fight I got into, which is a fight I think you're okay to lose. It's not an important fight, but I got that reasonably far through it the first time. Where I was like, no, I'm going to reload, and I think I can win this. I want to see what happens if I win this. As it turns out, it didn't matter. Winning it gave me nothing. But I thought I could try it. But this was when I thought, okay, maybe I'll use this as like a training exercise to really get to grips with how the dodge works. And the dodge sucks, as I said before. It's like you can use. It has one of those perfect dodge like timing elements that I just cannot seem to get down, which is maybe on me. But also there's a bit where, like, okay, if someone's firing a projectile to me, there were too many times where I had visibly dodged out of the way and the projectile was several feet to one side of me and it still counted as hitting me. And I'm like, nope, your dodge sucks. Sorry, that is bad. Like, so if I can't properly dodge projectiles so it looks like I've dodged a projectile, then your system is broken. So if that gets too much worse, or if that becomes too much of a problem and I'm actually put in a situation where it matters, that might be a deal breaker. Because it's to compound it, it's one of those systems where you've got to... it's animation locked, so you can't Bayonetta dodge at any time, right? You've got to... It's a bit more Devil May Cry, where it's like, if you're going to do a dodge, you've got to do it at the end of an attack string. You can't just... be in the middle of an attack and just push the dodge button and get out of it. You can't cancel into a dodge, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there's that. You've got to, like, when you're fighting a tougher enemy that's just could attack at any time, you have got to be a little more, I'm watching exactly your attack pattern, which can be a problem with some enemies that basically can just suddenly, start attacking without any wind up. There's definitely a few that just suddenly go into an attack without there being an obvious tell. Which then puts that system into a bit of a disadvantage, because how do you perfect dodge an attack that just comes out instantly?
You can't see it coming. Yeah,
you can sort of start to predict it sometimes based on the timing of the enemy's movements and things like that. It's like, okay, when they come into range, they're going to do the attack. So if I can kind of range them out a bit like a fighting game, then I could walk into their range and immediately dodge back out if I time it right. So then they get into the attack pattern and I can then counter attack at the right time. But as I say, it's ruined by the fact that there's not enough tell.
Yeah.
It's got things going for it. I'm just not sure it's landing perfectly. Oh, and it's got like I will say, anime ass intro. Like it does one of those like late title card things where it's like, okay, you get to a title, you say pick your character, you get going, you do like a prologue mission, and then it gives you an anime intro, like a series, and like you get this video that just plays out of like that's just an anime ass intro sequence, and you're like, yeah, all right, that's cool. Welcome to Scarlet Nexus, bitches. Anyway, we'll see how long I keep up with this.
You'd probably talk about that next time as well, Scarlet Nexus, do you think? Or...
Yeah, I'll stick with it for a bit at least. It's a little while till things like, Forza Horizon's probably the next big game for me. And that's a couple weeks away still.
Cool.
There we go.
Plenty of games. We've got your Satisfactory. We've got your Dyson Sphere program. We've got your Rocket League. We got your Nerds. We got your Payday 2. We got your Hyrule Warriors. We got your Sable, your Artful Escapes, and your Scarlet Nexuses.
So say what you will about Nerds. That is a fantastic name.
Nerds.
Nerds.
So get to playing some Nerds, and check out our YouTube channel for videos of other games than the ones I just mentioned. Probably, apart from there's probably some Rocket League on there somewhere.
No,
actually, no,
we've never done a Rocket League
one.
Yeah, we've never done a Rocket League video, not a proper one.
Just my personal YouTube channel has one.
Yeah, you need to get on Zach's personal YouTube. But for the rest of our videos, Happy Salad is our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some Deep Rock Galactic on there. We've got some Freelancer going, Jet Set Radio, all the classics. So check them out. And that's it for this podcast. And we'll be back with another one in a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
So goodbye. Enjoy this then.
Bye.